Chapter 3062. Bodyguard. Lin Yi frowned slightly. This is a long-term mission. Although the reward is quite high, aren't there any short-term assassination missions? Although it seems that I don't have any enemies for the time being, I'm still worried about leaving the East Ocean Mansion for a long time. Don't worry, I've already considered this for you. The other party's mission requirements are very simple. They only require the bodyguard to be a Heaven Stage Master, and the target to be protected can accommodate the bodyguard and follow the bodyguard to the bodyguard city. This way, you don't have to leave East Ocean City and can directly complete the mission here, old Lin explained. Oh, there's such a good thing. Lin Yi was a little surprised. However, since the other party requires the bodyguard to be a Heaven Stage Master, the target to be protected must not be simple, right? This mission shouldn't be that easy to complete, right? The enemy that I have to deal with is probably not weak, right? I'm not sure about this. I'll tell you the other party's phone number, and you can discuss the details with him, old Lin said. Moreover, in addition to a fixed monthly salary, you can also ask for some cultivation resources from him. The other party agreed without hesitation. I guess the identity of the other party is not simple. Okay, I got it, old man. Send me his phone number. Lin Yi nodded. Although this mission was definitely not simple, Lin Yi was in need of money. This mission was very suitable. He didn't have to leave East Ocean City to complete the mission, so why not? Lin Yi hung up the phone and waited for old Lin's text. However, during this time, Lin Yi's phone rang again. Lin Yi thought it was still old Lin calling. However, when he looked at the caller ID, it was actually an unfamiliar number. Hello. Hello. Lin Yi picked up the phone politely because he didn't know the person on the other side. Boss, it's me. I'm Feng Shipian. On the other side of the phone, a voice that Lin Yi was familiar with came. This call was naturally from Feng Shipian. Previously, Lin Yi's phone didn't go through. He dialed again and again until Lin Yi and old Lin ended the call. The first thing he did was to call Lin Yi. Poems. Lin Yi was slightly surprised by Feng Shipian's call. In his opinion, after Feng Shipian went back, it would be difficult to contact him. Long time no see. How have you been? Boss, I'm calling this time because I need your help with something. After saying this, Qin Feng's face darkened. Even Feng Shipian himself felt a little embarrassed. He hadn't contacted Lin Yi for a long time. As soon as he contacted her, he wanted to ask for Lin Yi's help. This made Feng Shipian a little embarrassed. What is it? Tell me. Lin Yi was straightforward. Lin Yi had always treated these little brothers very well. Lin Yi was straightforward. This made Feng Shipian even more embarrassed. However, Feng Shipian had no choice. If he didn't ask Lin Yi, he really didn't know who to ask. He could only bite the bullet and said, Boss Lin Yi, it's like this. I want to ask you to protect someone's safety. What? Ask me to protect someone's safety? Lin Yi was stunned. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Old man Lin had just accepted a mission to be his bodyguard, and Feng Shipian came to ask for his help. If it were any other time, Lin Yi would naturally agree. However, now that Lin Yi had accepted the mission, how could Lin Yi agree? Therefore, Lin Yi was in a dilemma. He wanted to refuse, but it wasn't good for him to refuse. Boss, don't worry. The reward will not be a penny less. Feng Shipian heard Lin Yi's shocked tone and quickly added. Shipian, it's not that I don't want to promise you, but I have other things to do. I have to protect someone else's safety. I'm afraid I can't promise you. Lin Yi said with a bitter smile. This is a coincidence, I see. Feng Shipian was a little disappointed, but he didn't force it. Since Lin Yi said that he had something to do and had to protect someone else, what else could Feng Shipian say? He could only say, it doesn't matter. I'll think of another way. Boss, you go ahead, okay. Lin Yi also said apologetically, there's really no other way this time. After hanging up the phone, Feng Shipian smiled bitterly and conveyed Lin Yi's words to Feng Tianlin. After Feng Tianlin heard it, he was also a little disappointed. He didn't understand Lin Yi, so he said to Feng Shipian, Shipian, maybe Mr. Lin Yi didn't want to help, so he found an excuse. How can there be such a coincidence? Dad, you don't understand Lin Yi boss. Boss Lin Yi must have something to do. It's not what you think. Feng Shipian understood Lin Yi, so he defended Lin Yi. Forget it. Let's put our hopes on my bodyguard. Feng Tianlin smiled non-committally, but he didn't argue with Feng Shipian. Feng Shipian still wanted to explain something, but at this moment, Feng Tianlin's phone rang again. Lin Yi didn't lie to Feng Shipian. Old Man Lin gave him the task, and he had to execute it. Otherwise, it would affect Old Man Lin's credibility as a manager. This task was actually posted by Feng Tianlin himself. It was just that Lin Yi didn't know about it, and neither did Feng Tianlin and Feng Shipian. However, because the phone number that Feng Tianlin gave to Old Man Lin was not the same phone number that Feng Shipian used just now, Lin Yi didn't realize that these two people were the same person. He still followed the agreement and dialed Feng Tianlin's number to discuss the specific details of the task. Hello. Feng Tianlin didn't know Lin Yi's number, so he picked up the phone without thinking much. Is this Mr. Shu? Lin Yi asked politely. It's me. You are. Feng Tianlin also guessed that the person who called was most likely the bodyguard he found on the Task Commission website. I am the bodyguard you are looking for. Lin Yi said. Now, I want to confirm the specific details. Okay, Mr. Bodyguard, please speak. Feng Tianlin didn't know Lin Yi's surname, so he could only call him Mr. Bodyguard. First of all, I want to confirm the gender, age, occupation, and lifestyle of the person to be protected. Lin Yi asked. Since it is a cooperation, then I won't hide it from you. Feng Tianlin said, the person you need to protect is a girl. She is 20 years old this year, and she is a celebrity. Chapter 3063. I will ask her to cancel it as much as possible. If she really can't cancel it, I will discuss with you in advance. What do you think? Feng Tianlin asked. To be honest, Lin Yi didn't want to be a celebrity's bodyguard. If she was a celebrity, she couldn't live in his villa. After all, she was a public figure. Whether she was willing to live with him or not was another matter. Moreover, Lin Yi had to follow the celebrity around for activities. However, the employer said that he could ask the celebrity to cancel the activities as much as possible. It seemed that she wasn't a big celebrity. It shouldn't be a problem for them to live together. Thus, he said, for the safety of the protected, I hope she can live with me. Can you do this? Live together. Feng Tianlin wasn't afraid of anything else. He was just afraid that Lin Yi would steal what he was guarding. His daughter was a big celebrity. An old moat that leads to the latent locust tree, denouncing the frequent coaxing of the common people. Where can one go to reason? The other party was a heaven-class master. It's for the convenience of protecting her. After all, if she doesn't live here, I'll have to live with her. It's just a matter of getting used to it. Lin Yi didn't know about Feng Tianlin's concerns. He thought that Feng Tianlin wasn't used to it. After all, Lin Yi didn't even know what the celebrity looked like. Maybe she was ugly. Lin Yi knew that some celebrities were even worse than ordinary people after removing their makeup. So, Lin Yi didn't have that kind of thought at all. This is true. Feng Tianlin thought about it carefully. It was true. He found a bodyguard for Xu Shahan. If they didn't stay together at night, how could the Dongfang family protect his daughter? Thinking of this, Feng Tianlin nodded and said, that's fine. But, is there anyone else at your place? I'm afraid my daughter won't be used to it. Yes. Lin Yi was a little impatient. He accepted this task. It was just that he lacked money. But he was a heaven-class master. He still had some temper. Mr. Shu, since you want a heaven-class master, you should be considered as someone in the cultivation world. Don't you think that it's good enough that I'm protecting your daughter? What is there to be picky about? This. Feng Tianlin smiled bitterly. Indeed. The person he hired wasn't an ordinary bodyguard, but a heaven-ranked master. He couldn't treat him like a normal bodyguard. Thinking of this, Feng Tianlin quickly apologized. I'm sorry, Mr. Bodyguard, I'm just thinking for my daughter, please forgive me. All right, you can let your daughter or someone close to her contact me directly, Lin Yi said. All right. How should I address you, sir? Feng Tianlin asked. Lin Yi, This is my phone number. You should be able to see it. Lin Yi didn't leave his real name. This was the name Lin Yi used when doing missions. Therefore, Lin Yi still used it out of habit. All right. Mr. Ling Yi. Feng Tianlin nodded and hung up the phone. Ling Yi. Feng Shipian was taken aback. Why did this name sound so familiar? Dad. Let me have a look at your phone. Oh. What's wrong? Feng Tianlin handed the phone to Feng Shipian. Feng Shipian glanced at the number on Feng Tianlin's phone and suddenly exclaimed, Really? Really? Boss? What boss? Feng Tianlin was a bit confused, but he immediately reacted, Shipian. You mean, the person who called is Lin Yi? Yes, this number is Boss Lin Yi's, and Ling Yi is also the name that boss used before. Feng Shipian said excitedly, You see, boss does have something to do, but I never thought that he would actually accept a mission as a bodyguard. Feng Tianlin was also very surprised. He didn't think that the bodyguard he hired was actually Lin Yi. This Lin Yi wasn't an ordinary heaven-ranked master in the early stage. This was something that could be used by a heaven-ranked master in the middle stage. This time, even if the Dongfang family sent a heaven-ranked master, Feng Tianlin wouldn't be afraid. I really didn't expect this. Is Lin Yi short of money? Feng Tianlin asked curiously. Short of money? Right. Feng Shipian suddenly thought of the news that he had received from Ji Xian before. After returning to the Feng family, although he didn't contact Lin Yi, he had been paying attention to Lin Yi. He also knew that Lin Yi's medical company had gone bankrupt. If Lin Yi was short of money, it was true. Therefore, Feng Shipian told Feng Tianlin about this matter. Ari, if that's the case, it stands to reason that I should give him more money, but my private money is only more than 300 million yuan, which is only enough to hire him for 2 months. Feng Tianlin smiled bitterly. I want to give more, but I don't have the money. I understand. Let's try our best. However, I really didn't expect that with boss's help, Sister Shahan will definitely be fine. Feng Shipian breathed a sigh of relief. However, at the same time, he suddenly became nervous. No, Dad, if Boss Lin Yi kills the people sent by the Dongfang family for Sister Shahan, wouldn't he offend the Dongfang family? This. Feng Tianlin's expression also changed slightly, and he said, I didn't think about this before. After all, the duty of a bodyguard is to take money and eliminate disasters for others. We have paid the price. Even if the bodyguard is hated because of the Dongfang family, it has nothing to do with us. If you don't have a diamond, don't do porcelain work. This is also the rule. However, this person is Lin Yi now. If you don't make it clear, there will definitely be a gap in the future. So, Shipian, if you want to tell Lin Yi, just say it. I support you. Dad, thank you. Feng Shipian said with some emotion. Since Feng Tianlin said so, it meant that he was prepared for Lin Yi to not do it at any time. However, Feng Shipian knew Lin Yi's character, but Dad, don't worry. I know Boss's character. If the person being protected is my sister, Boss will only do his best. Even if he doesn't get paid, he will do it. Okay, then you call. Feng Tianlin said. Feng Shipian picked up the phone and dialed Lin Yi's number again, but this time, he used the number that Feng Tianlin had contacted Lin Yi before. Mr. Shu, is there anything else? Lin Yi saw the caller ID on the mobile phone and picked up the phone. He thought that Feng Tianlin had forgotten to tell him something. Boss, it's me. Feng Shipian said quickly after hearing Lin Yi's voice. Chapter 3064. Boss, the person who called you just now was my father. Feng Shipian said weakly. The person he asked you to protect is the same person I want you to protect. Phut. No way. What a coincidence. Lin Yi felt that this was too much of a coincidence. He had just left the mountain to accept a mission, and it was actually to protect Feng Shipian's family. Yeah, I was wondering why you suddenly went to protect others. So it was for this mission. Feng Shipian said. Since it's one of us, I don't need money. Just give me some cultivation resources. Although Lin Yi was short on money, he couldn't ask for a reward for protecting Feng Shipian's family. That's fine too. Feng Shipian didn't refuse. My father has 350 million yuan. Boss, You can use it. It's not a reward. As your younger brother, I'm sponsoring you. I've heard about your company, and I'm doing my best to help you. Feng Shipian nodded and said, Boss, I'm just doing my best to help you. All right, it would be impolite of me to refuse. Since Feng Shipian said so, Lin Yi nodded and agreed. Oh right, boss, I'm calling to remind you that the people who are causing trouble for my sister are from the ancient Dongfang family. Feng Shipian said. The other party's background is very tyrannical. It's fine if you refuse, boss. After all, I don't want you to get into trouble. Ancient Dongfang family? Lin Yi's heart moved, but he still said indifferently, ancient level. It doesn't matter. I'm already a heaven rank expert, so sooner or later, I'll set foot on the ancient level. I'll take a look at the Dongfang family first. If it had been any other family, Lin Yi would have helped. However, he was afraid that Feng Shipian would also keep his identity a secret. He didn't want to become enemies with an ancient sect because of this. At the very least, he represented the ancient Feng family and hid his identity. However, the ancient Dongfang family already had enmity with Lin Yi. The death of the Dongfang elder would be traced back to Lin Yi sooner or later. Therefore, it was no longer important whether Lin Yi went against them or not. Even if Lin Yi killed a few more people from the Dongfang family, it would only make the enmity greater. If he didn't kill Elder Dongfang, the Dongfang clan wouldn't let Lin Yi off easily after learning of Elder Dongfang's death. Boss, have you made up your mind? Feng Shipian was taken aback. He didn't know what Lin Yi was thinking. He thought that Lin Yi did this for him. Hehe, of course I have. Lin Yi smiled and said, all right, I got it. Tell your sister to contact me. It's my sister. Feng Shipian said, by the way, my father hid his surname before. Boss, don't be angry. Hehe, I also hid it. It's normal to do this when we're not familiar with each other, Lin Yi said indifferently. All right. Boss, I'll tell my father to contact my sister now. Feng Shipian felt a lot more relaxed after settling this matter, especially after Lin Yi said it. He wanted to step into the ancient realm, and going against the Dongfang clan wouldn't bring him any trouble. How was it? After Feng Shipian hung up the phone, Feng Tianlin hurriedly asked. Boss agreed. Moreover, he also knows about the Dongfang clan. However, Boss isn't worried. He also wants to use the Dongfang clan to experience the ancient realm. Feng Shipian said. Feng Tianlin nodded and said with a sigh, I have to say, Lin Yi's growth this year is too fast, from nothing to something. Even the noble houses and hidden houses can't stop his footsteps. I'm guessing that the ancient level is going to be another bloodbath. It's a good thing that you've established a relationship with Lin Yi early on. Perhaps, Lin Yi will be the last straw that can save us father and son. Feng Tianlin didn't really like Lin Yi at first. So when Feng Shipian returned to the clan, he thought that Feng Shipian was too impulsive to recognize a common world-wandering cultivator as his boss. However, after paying attention to him for a while, Feng Tianlin realized what kind of person Lin Yi was. A wandering cultivator destroyed a hidden house without batting an eyelid. What kind of methods and courage was this? Plus, Lin Yi was now the enemy of the everyday and everyday sect, but he was unharmed. What did this mean? All of this meant that Lin Yi had extraordinary abilities. So letting him be Shu Shahan's bodyguard was a wise decision. Dad, it's great that you support me. Feng Shipian breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that Feng Tianlin didn't object to him calling him boss. This made him very happy. Of course not. Feng Tianlin smiled and said, I'll call Feng Sanhuang now and arrange it. Master. Feng Sanhuang saw Feng Tianlin's phone and quickly found a place with no one around. He picked up the phone and said quietly, Is there anything I can do for you? Sanhuang, how is Xiao Han recently? Feng Tianlin asked. Master, Miss has been very safe recently. There's no danger, but because of the attack last time, Miss has been very low-key. She didn't go to other cities to participate in activities, Feng Sanhuang said. In fact, it wasn't because Shu Shahan had been low-key. The main reason was that Feng Nitian was crippled. Feng Tianhu didn't have the mood to deal with Shu Shahan anymore. He had been focusing on Feng Nitian for a while. Now that Nitian was dead, he started to deal with Shu Shahan again. But San Huang, there's going to be a big danger soon. Feng Tianlin said to him, House Dongfang is preparing to deal with Xiao Han. That Dongfang is not weak. He likes Xiao Han and wants to. And they sent an early phase Sky Class Master to deal with you. What? Early phase Sky Class Master? Feng Sanhuang was shocked. He didn't think that Feng Tianhu would be able to send a Sky Class Master to deal with him and Shu Shahan. Could it be that there was a change in House Feng? Had Feng Tianhu taken over as the head of the house? Could it be that Feng Tianhu joined hands with House Dongfang? That can't be right. Second mistress should be on master's side. Feng Sanhuang only knew a few things about the Feng family on the surface. As for the specifics of what had happened recently, he didn't know. You don't need to know about these things. Feng Tianhu didn't take over the position. That's why House Dongfang made their move. Feng Tianlin naturally couldn't explain that it was Dongfang Xiaocui's fault. Chapter 3065. He didn't know what to do after all. A heaven-class early phase master wasn't someone he could easily deal with. So when Sanhuang heard about a heaven-class early phase master, he was a bit dumbfounded. Sanhuang, don't worry, Shahan has already found a bodyguard for Shahan. It's a heaven-class early phase master. Feng Tianlin said. You just need to think of a reason to make Shahan accept this new bodyguard. Okay, I can do that easily. These years, Sanhuang had been by Shahan's side, and he was deeply trusted by her, but he was still a bit worried. Master, they are both heaven-class early phase masters. Can they be a match for Dongfang family? This isn't a normal heaven-class early phase, it's a heaven-class early phase master who can fight above his level. Hihi, you'll know when you see him. Feng Tianlin smiled and said, I'll send you his phone number, you can contact him directly. What? Can fight above his level? Which ancient sect's disciple is this? Feng Sanhuang was a little surprised. These kinds of masters weren't normal masters, they were usually important targets of the ancient sects or families. Just like Feng Nitian of House Feng, they were all people who could fight above their level. But, how could this kind of person be a bodyguard for Shahan? They were all extremely arrogant masters. Hihi, you'll know when the time comes. Feng Tianlin didn't say much. But, you have to go to the city he's in and live with him, this is also the master's request. Feng Tianlin told Sanhuang about some of Lin Yi's requests and the things to pay attention to. Okay. Although Feng Sanhuang was puzzled, he could only nod. Not long after hanging up, Sanhuang received a text from Feng Tianlin. It was a phone number, and the owner was called Ling Yi. After getting the number, Feng Sanhuang went to see Shu Shahan. Feng bro, what's up? Shahan saw Sanhuang walking over and asked. Under normal circumstances, Sanhuang, as a bodyguard and driver, rarely took the initiative to talk to her. Wang Sis was in charge of the work. Miss Shu, I've received news that the people who attacked you before will probably attack you again soon. Feng Sanhuang said seriously to Shu Shahan. So, for your safety, I want to find my friend to be responsible for your safety. Ah! Those people still want to fight. Shu Shahan was shocked. She had been keeping a low profile recently, but nothing happened during this time. She thought that the matter was over, but she didn't expect that those people still wanted to make a move. Yes, the information should be accurate. Feng Sanhuang nodded. Sure, as for the salary, you can just tell Wang Sis. It's better to have an extra bodyguard. Shahan didn't doubt Feng Sanhuang's words and chose to believe him. However, my friend has other things to do. Can we go to his city and live for a while? Feng Sanhuang asked. Ah, we still have to go to his city. Shu Shahan paused. It wasn't that she didn't want to go, but going to a foreign city suddenly wouldn't be easy. That's for sure. If we ask him for help, we have to accommodate him, right? Feng Sanhuang didn't say anything about the salary. In fact, he didn't know how much it was. From his perspective, it was already good enough for a heaven-class master to help. You're right. Shahan didn't have the temper of those superstars. Hearing Feng Sanhuang's words, she nodded. However, the manager Wang Sis heard the conversation between Feng Sanhuang and Shahan. She was a bit unhappy. Xiao Feng, can't you protect Miss Xu? Who else do we need to look for? If she goes to another city, how are we going to do our work? Miss Xu is going to release her album in the first half of next year. If she goes to a small city without a recording studio, how are we going to make an album? Wang Sis, listen to Feng Bro. Shahan shook her head. Only she knew how vicious those people were. That time in the dark alley, if it wasn't for Lin Yi, she would have died there. Feng Sanhuang never said anything he wasn't sure of. Since he said he wanted help, it meant that he didn't have absolute confidence. So Shahan wouldn't argue with him on this matter. Oh. Wang Sis was a bit unwilling. She didn't know how dangerous it was, but Shahan insisted, so she could only give up. Feng Sanhuang, on the other hand, directly called Ling Yi. Hello, is this Mr. Ling Yi? I'm the bodyguard of the person being protected. May I know which city you're in? Feng Sanhuang asked politely. The person was a heaven-class master. It's me. I'm in Donghai City. When you guys arrive at Donghai Airport, I can pick you up. Lin Yi said. Since this was Feng Shishan's sister, Lin Yi was naturally more friendly. Okay, we'll take today's flight. We'll arrive at Donghai Airport at night. Feng Sanhuang said. We're VIP members of the airline. We have a special green channel. You can just wait for us at the exit. I'll book the ticket and tell you the exact time. No problem. Lin Yi nodded. After the call, Lin Yi called Meng Yaro and Yushu down. Shield bro, it's the weekend. Why did you call us so early in the morning? What's the matter? Yushu yawned as she came down. Meng Yaro was a little puzzled as well. What did Lin Yi want to call them up on a weekend morning? Yaro, Shu, I called you this time because I have something important to tell you. Now that he'd confirmed the mission, it was about time to tell them the specifics of the mission. After all, the celebrity they were protecting had to stay at home as well. Oh, what is it? Yushu was curious. Meng Yaro didn't ask, but she opened her eyes wide and looked at Lin Yi, waiting for him to say something. It's like this. I'm short on money recently. You guys know that, so I accepted a bodyguard mission. I'm in charge of protecting someone. Lin Yi said straightforwardly. Bodyguard mission? Shu paused. Is it to protect a man or a girl? It's a girl, a celebrity. Lin Yi said. Chapter 3066. But after saying this, she blushed. Why did she stop him? What was she afraid of? Was she afraid that the new girl Lin Yi was protecting would fall in love with Lin Yi? Chem? No. How could it be? She didn't fall in love with Lin Yi. What I mean is, you have to protect me and Shu. How can you protect other people? Meng Yaro saw that Lin Yi and Shu were looking at her strangely, so she blushed and tried to explain. But, Shield Bro's mission's already over. Are you afraid that someone else is going to steal your position in Shield Bro's heart, Yaro? Yushu, on the other hand, knew Meng Yaro very well. How? How is that possible? It's just that the final exams are coming, Shield Bro shouldn't go far, right? And it's New Year in a month. Meng Yaro was still explaining incoherently. It's okay, I'll let them move to the villa, I won't go far. Lin Yi said, plus, my follower Feng Shishan asked me to help with this mission, I can't refuse. I see, alright then. Meng Yaro thought that it'd be fine if he moved into the villa, since he'd be under her and Shu's watchful eyes. He shouldn't be able to do anything with that superstar, right? One had to know that she didn't even need to do anything, Shu could turn the world upside down. Back then, Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao were speechless because of Shu, weren't they? Then I'll go prepare 2 rooms on the first floor, then I'll pick them up. Lin Yi nodded and went to prepare the rooms. Grandma's son had already left. Housework. In other words, everyone did it together. After Lin Yi left, Yushu said, Yaro sis, don't worry, isn't she just a small star? She can't threaten Yaro sis' position. If she has any perverted thoughts towards Shield Bro, Shu will let her know who's the big wife in this villa. Besides, Shield Bro has seen Shahan sis before. How could an ordinary little celebrity catch his eye? Why would I worry about that? I'm just worried that the celebrity won't be easy to get along with. Meng Yaro, naturally, wouldn't admit it. But thinking about it, Lin Yi had seen Shu Shahan before. If he wanted to hit on someone, it would be Shu Shahan. Why would he be interested in a small celebrity? Thinking of this, he felt much more at ease. It doesn't matter. She lives in our territory, so she has to follow our rules. She must be begging Shield Bro to be her bodyguard. If she's not willing, she can just leave, Yu Shu said. After Lin Yi tidied up the room, it was almost time. He drove to Donghai Airport. Feng Sanhuang bought a plane ticket at noon, so he could arrive in the afternoon. Since there was danger, they had to meet up with Lin Yi as soon as possible to ensure Shu Shahan's safety. Donghai Airport's VIP lounge, although this lounge was exclusively for VIPs. The people who came here to pick up the people who came down from the VIP passage, but there were quite a lot of people here. The seats were almost full. Lin Yi looked around and found a good seat near the window. It was a big sofa, and no one was sitting there. He walked over and sat down, picking up a magazine and reading it. Lin Yi didn't bother with pleasantries as he walked over and sat down. The plane would arrive in half an hour, so Lin Yi arrived a little earlier. However, Lin Yi hadn't been reading the magazine for long when an extremely arrogant voice came from behind him, giving him a big fright. "Motherfucker, who let you sit here? Don't you know this is young Master Jun's exclusive seat?" The voice came from behind Lin Yi. It wasn't that Lin Yi didn't notice the person behind him, but there were quite a lot of people coming to pick up the plane. As long as they didn't come to attack Lin Yi wouldn't care what they were doing. Lin Yi frowned. Was there a special seat for this type of seat? But when he looked down, there didn't seem to be anything special about his spot other than the better lighting and the fact that it was a comfortable sofa. "What are you looking at? Aren't you going to give up your seat to young Master Jun?" The voice saw Lin Yi lowering his head, but he was a little impatient. If this seat was really dedicated, Lin Yi would give it to him. After all, although Lin Yi was strong, he wasn't willing to bully these ordinary people because of some small things. Lin Yi's eyes were now filled with cultivators. However, this seat wasn't dedicated at all. It wasn't marked at all. Lin Yi was a little unhappy. He stood up, turned his head, and looked at the person who scolded him. This was a man in black. However, what surprised Lin Yi was that although Lin Yi couldn't see through this person's strength, he should be a master without a doubt. "This seat, where is it written that it's yours?" Lin Yi asked faintly. Although the person was a master, it was only relative to ordinary people. Lin Yi didn't put him in his eyes. The man in black didn't answer Lin Yi's question. It seemed that he didn't put Lin Yi in his eyes at all. He reached out his hand and pushed towards Lin Yi, wanting to push Lin Yi to the side. He didn't even want to explain. However, what surprised him was that Lin Yi didn't move an inch under his push. "You!" The master jumped in fright. He knew how strong he was. He pushed Lin Yi, but it didn't budge at all. He immediately increased the strength of his hand, using all of his mystic late-phase peak physical strength. However, he thought that this time, he would definitely push Lin Yi away. What surprised him was that Lin Yi didn't move an inch. He was still standing in the same spot. Slap. Lin Yi slapped the mystic class master, sending him flying out of the room. Boom. With a loud sound, the master fell to the ground. The corner of his mouth was full of blood, and his teeth fell out. However, he didn't know the pain because he had already fainted. "Move. Move." After the master was slapped away by Lin Yi, there was a sudden noise at the door of the resting room. A pale-faced young man, under the escort of a few men in black, walked into the resting room. But when they saw the Mystic Division Master lying motionless on the ground with blood all over his mouth, they were completely stunned. A black-robed man ran over quickly. "Junior brother, what happened to you? Who hurt you?" Lin Yi frowned. Since when did Donghai City have so many masters? Chapter 3067. The one just now was a physical master, and the one in front of him was most likely one too. When a physical master didn't show his strength, Lin Yi's golden finger was useless. However, what shocked Lin Yi the most was that the pale young man protected by the men in black was Lin Yi's old acquaintance, Jinying Jun. He was young Master Jun. When Lin Yi and Ma Zhu died together, his meridians were broken, so Lin Yi didn't chase after Zhen Dazhou and Zhen Yingjun, who ran back to Donghai City. At that time, Lin Yi wasn't a match for the Jinzhong clan. Later on, the Jinzhong clan was about to be annihilated by Lin Yi, and Lin Yi naturally wouldn't care about House Zhen of Donghai. However, after a while, Zhen Yingjun seemed to have become even more powerful. There were so many masters around him all of a sudden. Although they weren't the most powerful masters, they were only in Lin Yi's eyes. The peak of the late phase of Mystic Division was already a very powerful existence in the mortal world. Of course, this wasn't what surprised Lin Yi the most. What surprised Lin Yi the most was that the man in black that he slapped didn't die. He only lost a tooth, but his life wasn't in danger. Although Lin Yi didn't use any martial arts, Lin Yi didn't hold back after knowing that the man was a cultivator and slapped him with the strength of the early phase of heaven class. Yet, he didn't die from Lin Yi's slap. He was only a master at the peak of the late phase of Mystic Division, 2 ranks lower than Lin Yi, yet he didn't die? Wasn't this person too strange? Could it be that he was from the Jinzhong clan? But the Jinzhong clan was about to be annihilated. Where would they send so many masters? Did you hurt my junior brother? The man in black checked the mystic class master who was injured by Lin Yi on the ground. After confirming that his life wasn't in danger, he stood up and looked at Lin Yi with determination. But he didn't let his guard down. A person who could injure his junior brother was definitely not a simple character. Who are you? Why did you hurt him? Zhen Yingjun, I didn't think we'd meet again. Lin Yi ignored the man in black. Although their defensive abilities were very strong, Lin Yi didn't put them in his eyes. With the strength of their bodies, they simply couldn't withstand Lin Yi's martial skills. Moreover, he didn't even need the powerful Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm. Just the 10th form of the Frenzy Fire Fist was enough to take their lives. Of course, in the eyes of other cultivators, this was also a very powerful existence. The 10th form of Frenzy Fist was a skill that only an Earth-class late-phase peak could use. Using an Earth-class late-phase peak martial skill to kill a mystic late-phase peak master? What a joke. This was also the reason why these men in black were so arrogant. Lin Yi. Zhen Yingjuan's breathing quickened, and his pale face turned even paler. He was terrified of what happened just now. He thought that he had the support of a powerful force after returning to East Ocean City and returning to his own territory. He could look down on everything, but when he stood in front of Lin Yi, his legs couldn't help but cramp. Kill him, this kid is a bad guy. He can't be left alive. Zhen Yingjuan's words caused the man in black and the other 2 men in black to surround Lin Yi at the same time. Kid, I don't care which sect you are from. You will all die today. Master Zhen has spoken, you won't be able to live. The first man in black said coldly to Lin Yi. Lin Yi ignored him before. This made him very angry, so after Zhen Yingjun gave the order, he prepared to kill Lin Yi. Clear the area, clear the area. The Flintlock squad is working here. Those who have no business here can leave. Other than the 4 men in black, there were a few bodyguards behind Zhen Yingjun with bulging waists. It was obvious that they had guns. When they called out the firearm team's name, everyone's expressions changed. They all stood up and looked at Lin Yi pitifully before quickly leaving. Which sect are you from? Golden Bell sect. Lin Yi didn't answer the man in black's question, but asked back. Golden Bell clan? The man in black heard Lin Yi's words and humphed coldly. Golden Bell clan isn't even worthy of helping us. Judging from your level, you're just a hidden sect. Our sect will scare you to death. Scare me to death. Lin Yi froze. Were these people from the ancient sect? That Zhen family was really impressive, to actually establish a connection with the ancient era. Let me tell you, we're from Iron Cloak clan. Are you scared now? The man in black reported his clan and looked at Lin Yi mockingly, waiting for Lin Yi to piss his pants. Iron Cloak clan? Lin Yi asked back, I've never heard of it. You. Black-clothed man number 2 was furious. Lin Yi's words were insulting their existence, making him furious. Kid, you're asking for it. You don't have to be angry. Lin Yi is only at the level of a common noble house. He doesn't even know how many hidden noble houses there are. How would he know how powerful the ancient sect is? Zhen Yingjun calmed down and waved his hand. Don't talk nonsense with them, just kill him. From his point of view, it was useless no matter how powerful Lin Yi was. Now that he had the support of the ancient sect and the famous Iron Cloak clan, he wasn't afraid of Lin Yi anymore. Zhenying, you still owe me money, right? Where's the 250 million you owe me last time? I'm in need of money recently, return it to me and I'll forget about what happened today. It's not easy for your men to cultivate until now, I won't kill them. Lin Yi turned to Zhenying and said. You're a coward. Zhenying sneered, Lin Yi, you don't need to hide the fear in your heart. I know you're scared, that's why you're acting cool. Don't think that I don't know, I know this very well. You must die today. All of you, go. Don't talk nonsense with him. Just kill him. Yes, Master Jun. The men in black from Iron Cloak clan nodded and Black Cloak one punched at Lin Yi. Lin Yi frowned slightly. To be honest, he didn't want to become enemies with Iron Cloak clan. After all, Lin Yi already had enmity with Dark Palace, Everyday sect, Blood Cloak Underworld sect, and the ancient Dongfang clan. There were only a few ancient sects and Lin Yi offended 4 of them at once. There was also the Heavenly Elixir sect whose attitude was unclear. Lin Yi really didn't want to become enemies with Iron Cloak clan. Chapter 3068. What was the relationship between them? One had to know that Zhenying was also very respectful in front of Ma Zhu, but these people from Iron Cloak faction became his hired thugs. How strange. Iron Cloak faction, don't do anything. I don't want to kill you. My only enemy is Zhenying, Lin Yi said to Black Cloak number 1 and the others. However, the more Lin Yi acted like this, the more Iron Cloak faction thought that Lin Yi was scared and was trying to scare them. Therefore, Black Cloak number 1 didn't stop and punched towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi sighed slightly. He had no choice but to attack. However, Lin Yi still held back. Although he revealed the strength of an early phase of Heaven class, he still used the 8th form of Frenzy Fist. He could only heavily injure Black Cloak number 1, but he couldn't kill him. He hoped that he would be merciful and stop Iron Cloak faction from causing trouble. Otherwise, Lin Yi would have to kill them next time. Although Lin Yi wasn't afraid of trouble, it was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Boom, 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 boom. Lin Yi didn't make a move, but when he did, it was clean and neat. In just an instant, the 4 black-clothed men, including Black-clothed number 1, were directly sent flying by Lin Yi. Black Shirt 1 was obviously the strongest among them, having reached the peak of the early phase of Earth class. Although the others had fainted, he didn't faint even though he was injured. He only looked at Lin Yi in shock and spat out 4 words, Sky class. Black Cloak number 1 knew that he kicked an iron plate. Lin Yi was so young and was already an early phase of Heaven class. He couldn't be a nobody, nor could he be cultivated by a small family. There must be a bigger force behind him. He said that he hadn't heard of Iron Cloak faction, maybe he looked down on them. What? Zhenying wasn't as clueless as before. He knew what it meant to be a Heaven-class master. How could Lin Yi be a Heaven stage expert? This was completely unrealistic. Back then, he had to go all out against Ma Zhu, and in the end, both of them were heavily injured. But now, when he made his move, he didn't even see it clearly, and all his bodyguards were already lying on the ground. Even the weakest of them, Black Shirt number 1, who was at the peak of early phase of Earth rank, wasn't a match for him. Zhenying, I told you that I don't want to fight and I've warned you. If you want your men to die, then there's nothing I can do. Lin Yi tried his best to push the blame onto Zhenying and let Tai Yi sect get even with him. He walked towards Zhenying step by step. However, Lin Yi was wrong about Iron Cloak sect. They wouldn't do anything to Zhenying, at least not now. Don't come any closer. I'm telling you, although you've defeated them, I'm backed by the entire Ironcloth sect. If you dare to touch me, I'll make you suffer. Zhenying was the one who put up a strong front. He kept backing away. A Heaven stage expert, this was too shocking. Slap. Lin Yi slapped Zhenying's face. His handsome face was once again slapped until his eyes and mouth were crooked. Iron Cloak sect. You also thought that Jinzhong Gate was powerful before, but what about now? Lin Yi stood in front of Zhenying indifferently. You can't kill me. Jin Yingjun was really scared and kept backing away. Lin Yi, House-Jin is powerful now, really powerful. Oh, even if you change your name to Jin Yo Bai, it has nothing to do with me. Slap. Another slap sounded. Lin Yi slapped the other side of Jin Yingjuan's face. Let me go. I'll do whatever you want. Jin Yingjun softened. He had no choice but to lower his head in front of Lin Yi. I can let you go, I just want to collect the debt from you. 250 million, when will you give it to me? Lin Yi asked. I've already returned 250 million to you, can you give me less this time? How about 150 million? Jin Yingjun hesitated and said. What do you think? Slap. Another slap. Lin Yi was getting impatient. Stop wasting time. If you have money, use it to buy your life. If you don't, then die. 150 million is fine. I'll cut off your arms and it'll be 100 million. How about that? Then. Okay. I'll transfer the money to you after I go back. Jin Yingjun rolled his eyes and thought that he should leave first. As long as he went back, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to find him and he could do whatever he wanted. Go back. Lin Yi naturally knew what Jin Yingjun was thinking. He sneered, now, immediately, transfer the money, otherwise, I don't mind turning you into them. Of course, they are cultivators, and physical defense cultivators at that. They didn't die under my hands, but that's not necessarily the case for you. You might just die in an instant. But it's not bad, you don't have to pay me back anymore. Okay. Jin Yingjun took a deep breath and reminded himself that he had to lower his head when he was under someone else's roof. Just you wait and see. Then, Jin Yingjun took out his phone and said to Lin Yi, give me your account number. Lin Yi gave him an account number and Jin Yingjun made a few calls to transfer the money to Lin Yi. He didn't dare to play any tricks as he knew how ruthless Lin Yi was. He had to get through this first and he would have plenty of chances to deal with Lin Yi in the future. Moreover, Jin Yingjuan's house Jun had the support of Iron Cloth Sect and they were quite rich. Although 250 million wasn't a small amount, Jin Yingjun could still afford it. Not long after, Lin Yi received a notification on his phone. Lin Yi looked at the amount and nodded in satisfaction. Okay, you can leave now. Okay. Jin Yingjun gritted his teeth and looked at the bodyguards in white with guns on their waists. He ordered, what are you waiting for? Carry them on your back and come with me. Yes. Although the bodyguards in white had guns and looked powerful in front of outsiders, they were far from a cultivator. Although they didn't fall, they didn't dare to pull out their guns in front of Lin Yi and Jin Yingjun didn't think about using them to turn the tables. Chapter 3069. After all, Lin Yi didn't kill the people from Taiyi sect and Jin Yingjun, so Jin Dazhou and Taiyi sect wouldn't be so desperate. After they went back, they would investigate his background again and decide if they should kill him or not. Of course, if Taiyi sect didn't want to cause trouble, they wouldn't mind losing 250 million since no one died. He still wasn't strong enough. Lin Yi sighed. If he had absolute strength, these people wouldn't be able to walk out of here today. However, Lin Yi could only let them go for now in order to avoid too much trouble. However, it wasn't for nothing. At least, Lin Yi brought back 250 million. Fatty Lie's medical company had 250 million, in addition to the 350 million Feng Shishan gave him, so it shouldn't be a problem to keep it running. However, the money that House Liu mortgaged and Yu Xiaoke's orphanage wasn't enough. Lin Yi could only hope that the genius girl from House Liu could give him a surprise and restore House Liu's agency to its former glory. Jin Yingjun came and left quickly without a trace. The guests who were chased away returned to the resting room after seeing Jin Yingjun leave. However, their eyes were filled with respect when they looked at Lin Yi. It was rare to see someone who could defeat Jin Yingjuan's bodyguard and beat Jin Yingjun up. This little episode made Lin Yi earn 250 million. It seemed like there were benefits to coming to pick him up. A good person would be rewarded. Jin Yingjun left and Xu Shahan's plane was about to land. The plane was on time and when Lin Yi saw the flight number on the LCD screen, he put down the newspaper in his hand. Soon, the sound of footsteps came from the entrance of the lounge. Someone was getting off the plane, and there were also a few people in the lounge who stood up. They were probably here to pick up the passengers who were getting off the plane. Lin Yi looked at his phone. No one had called him yet, but he thought that when the person he was going to pick up got off the plane, they would call him. However, Lin Yi didn't see the main character, but saw a group of familiar faces coming out of the passageway. It was the superstar Xu Shahan, her bodyguard Feng Sanhuang, and her manager Wang Sis. These three people made Lin Yi slightly surprised. Did Xu Shahan come to East Ocean City to perform? But since he saw her, Lin Yi naturally had to greet her. No matter what, Xu Shahan was the company's spokesperson, and she had a good relationship with Miss and the others. Young Han, Arid Triad, why are you here? Lin Yi was not familiar with Big Sis Wang, so he only nodded at her. Lin Yi. Xu Shahan didn't expect to bump into Lin Yi at the airport. She was wearing sunglasses, and this was the VIP exit. People who came out of this place were either rich or powerful. No one would be so nosy as to guess who she was. Plus, Lin Yi called her Young Han. Who would have thought that Xu Shahan was Young Han? Xu Shahan paused and looked at Feng Sanhuang awkwardly. She didn't know if she should tell Lin Yi about this. Was it a secret? Xu Shahan trusted Lin Yi in her heart. It was just that Feng Sanhuang didn't say anything, so she couldn't do anything. Feng Sanhuang was also surprised why Lin Yi was here. Last time Xu Shahan was in trouble, it was Lin Yi who saved her. Feng Sanhuang trusted Lin Yi a lot. It was just that there were outsiders in the lounge, so Feng Sanhuang couldn't say anything. Mr. Lin, long time no see. We did come here for some business, but can we talk in private? Talk outside? Sure, but I'm here to pick someone up. I need to call the person and tell him to wait for me outside. Lin Yi said and took out his phone. Perfect, someone is here to pick us up. I'll make a call too. Feng Sanhuang nodded and picked up his phone. However, Lin Yi realized that the number he dialed was busy. It was the same for Feng Sanhuang. The user was busy. Helplessly, Lin Yi put down the phone. He guessed that the other party was contacting him as well, so he waited for them to call back. Sanhuang, on the other hand, had the same thought. He hung up the phone and waited for Lin Yi's reply. The call didn't go through. Let's talk on the way, Lin Yi said to Feng Sanhuang. Sure. Feng Sanhuang nodded. He put down his phone and walked towards the door with Lin Yi. After leaving the VIP lounge, they came to the parking lot near the airport. Feng Sanhuang, Xu Shahan, and Wang Sis got on Lin Yi's car first. After they got in, Feng Sanhuang said, Mr. Lin, our trip this time is actually a secret. Even the people in the company don't know about it. Miss Xu might be in trouble again. Oh, trouble again? The same group as last time? Lin Yi was dazed. This. More or less, but even more powerful. Feng Sanhuang didn't say much. After all, Feng Tianhu was the one who found them. Although last time it was the Feng family and this time it was the Dongfang family, there was only one person. If that's the case, then it's a bit dangerous. What's your plan this time? Lin Yi asked. This time? I won't hide it from Mr. Lin. I have a friend here. I'm here to ask for his help to protect Miss Xu's safety. Feng Sanhuang said. This was the excuse he gave to Xu Shahan. Alright, I have something else to do during this period of time. If there's nothing else, I'll help you guys out. Lin Yi nodded. Mr. Lin, thank you for your kindness. But the enemy this time is a Sky-class early phase master. I'm afraid you don't have the confidence to deal with him. I don't either. Feng Sanhuang naturally didn't know that Lin Yi was already a Sky-class master. His impression was still the last time he met Lin Yi. Lin Yi's strength was still at the last time he met him. Ah, Sky-class early phase. Lin Yi heard Feng Sanhuang mention the enemy's strength. He only smiled faintly. Sky-class early phase. Lin Yi didn't care anymore. Right, Mr. Lin. We'll talk later. I need to call my friend first. Feng Sanhuang suddenly remembered that Lin Yi didn't reply to him. He quickly took out his phone and was ready to call back. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. Lin Yi also wanted to call his employer to ask if they had arrived. But because it was quiet in the car, it wasn't good for two people to call at the same time. So, Lin Yi decided to wait for Feng Sanhuang to finish his call. Chapter 3070. Lin Yi didn't think too much about it. He picked up the phone and saw that it was his employer, so Lin Yi couldn't reject the call. Even if Feng Sanhuang was on the phone, Lin Yi still picked up the phone. "Hello, I've arrived at the airport, have you guys gotten off the plane?" After Lin Yi said this, he waited for the other party to respond, but the other party didn't say anything. Feng Sanhuang, on the other hand, had a shocked expression on his face. Because the call was connected, he heard Lin Yi's voice from the other side. However, he was also a little uncertain, so he hesitated for a moment and still said into the microphone, "Hello, is this Mr. Lin Yi?" This time, not only did Feng Sanhuang hear Lin Yi's voice, but Lin Yi also heard Feng Sanhuang's voice from the other side of the phone. Of course, even if Lin Yi didn't hear it, Feng Sanhuang's Mr. Ling Yi already represented a lot of problems. Lin Yi could immediately understand that the person he was waiting for was Feng Sanhuang, and the superstar he wanted to protect was Xu Shahan. Both of them were stunned. Lin Yi put down the phone, and Feng Sanhuang also put down the phone. Lin Yi was a bit embarrassed, and Feng Sanhuang was also a bit embarrassed, but he was more worried about Xu Shahan's thought. He told Xu Shahan that he was asking for help from his friend, but in the end, Lin Yi was right in front of him, and he didn't even know that the person he was asking for help was Lin Yi. No matter how stupid Xu Shahan was, she should be able to figure out the problem, right? "Mr. Feng? It's you." Lin Yi smiled bitterly and reached out his hand. "Yes, it's me." Feng Sanhuang also smiled bitterly and said, "Mr. Lin Yi, why did you change your name to Ling Yi?" I'm just accepting a quest. I didn't think too much about it. It's an acquaintance among acquaintances." Lin Yi smiled wryly and said, "Back then, the poem told me. He asked me to protect his sister, but I thought his sister does not know me. I had told Mr. Feng that my name is Ling Yi, and Shusha also knows my name. That's why I did not change my name. But I did not expect the person I am protecting is Miss Xu. Brother Feng, are you hiding something from me?" Shahan looked at Feng Sanhuang. Of course, she didn't think that Feng Sanhuang would harm her. After all, the person Feng Sanhuang found was Lin Yi. Xu Shahan knew what kind of person Lin Yi was. There was no way he would help Sanhuang harm people. Lin Yi also said that he was here to protect him, but Lin Yi wasn't Feng Sanhuang's friend at all. And Lin Yi even said that she was someone's sister. What was going on? Wasn't he an orphan? How could he have a brother? So, Xu Shahan subconsciously thought that Feng Sanhuang was hiding something from her. And it was not a small matter. Needless to say, Shahan's guess was quite accurate. Because Feng Sanhuang was indeed hiding something, but without Feng Tianlin's permission, he didn't dare to tell Shahan. If Shahan knew the truth, if she knew that she had a father who didn't dare to acknowledge her, wouldn't she be unhappy? But Feng Sanhuang knew. It wasn't that Feng Tianlin didn't want to acknowledge her, but he couldn't. If he didn't acknowledge her now, there was already so much danger. If he really did acknowledge her, he didn't know how Feng Tianhu would make a fuss about it. So, Feng Sanhuang hesitated and looked at Lin Yi. Although the trouble was caused by him, it was Lin Yi who said it. It seemed that Lin Yi was not only close to Shahan, but also the young master Feng Shipian. So, it was better for Lin Yi to say it. At least, Feng Tianlin couldn't blame Feng Sanhuang. Seeing Feng Sanhuang's pleading eyes, Lin Yi paused. "What do you mean? Could it be that Shahan didn't know about this? But wasn't this arranged by Feng Shipian? He wouldn't tell his sister." "No. Sister." Shahan's surname was Xu, Feng Shipian's surname was Feng. Although Feng Tianlin said that his surname was Xu, it was just a made-up surname. Maybe he meant to represent Shahan. But there might really be a problem here. It was just that Lin Yi didn't know how much Shahan knew, so he could only test her. "Han, I was asked by your father and brother to protect you," but after saying this, Lin Yi regretted it a little. Because Lin Yi suddenly remembered that Shahan told him about her childhood. Shahan should be Feng Tianlin's illegitimate daughter, and after Shahan and her mother were attacked, they didn't see Feng Tianlin again. Naturally, Shahan wouldn't know about Feng Tianlin and Feng Shipian, but at the beginning, Lin Yi didn't think about this. He thought that Feng Tianlin had been in contact with Shahan. Now that he thought about it, Shahan didn't mention that she saw her father after she was separated from her mother. You met my father? I have a brother. Shahan widened her eyes in shock. She looked at Lin Yi. Her body was shaking. She was obviously very emotional. Her breathing became rapid. But in the next moment, cold sweat appeared on Shahan's forehead. Her breathing became more rapid. She couldn't help but moan. It hurts. My head hurts. Wang Sis, give me the medicine. Wang Sis was also shocked. What Lin Yi and Feng Sanhuang said in the car today shocked her. Lin Yi knew Shahan's father. And from the looks of it, Feng Sanhuang also knew about it. Wang Sis, who was usually a chatterbox, didn't dare to interrupt today. She didn't know what to say. But Shu Shahan had a headache. She subconsciously grabbed her backpack and started rummaging through it. Every time Shahan went out, she would let Wang Sis bring the painkillers from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. No need. Lin Yi shook his head at Wang Sis. He reached out and pressed on Shahan's forehead and chest. Shahan's emotions gradually returned to normal. But she was still panting. She blushed and said gratefully to Lin Yi, "Thank you." Although Lin Yi cured her headache, he also touched her body. But Shahan knew that Lin Yi did it for her own good. He didn't want to take advantage of her. "No need to thank me. It was me who gave you a headache. I should be the one apologizing." Lin Yi smiled bitterly. "I didn't think that you didn't know about your father and brother. I thought you already knew." Chapter 3071. Then do you hate him? Lin Yi stayed silent for a while and asked. Suddenly hearing that my dad knew about me but didn't want to see me, I did feel a bit uncomfortable, but thinking about it, maybe he has his own difficulties. Shu Shahan smiled at Lin Yi and said, "I'm an illegitimate daughter, he has his own life, and at least, Lin Yi, you were hired by dad and brother to protect me, at least they care about me. I've never met my brother before, and he treats me like this, what else do I have to hate? On the contrary, I'm very happy today. You let me know some things I've always wanted to know. My dad is fine, that's great. Okay, then do you want to see him?" At this point, Lin Yi knew that he couldn't hide it anymore, so he asked. But from Lin Yi's point of view, Shu Shahan was still calm. She was already an adult, she could face everything rationally. "He doesn't want to see me, of course he has his difficulties, it doesn't matter if I don't see him or not. Although I really want to see him, I know he's fine. So I'm at ease." Shu Shahan smiled bitterly and said, "To be honest, I don't have much of an impression of him anymore." Lin Yi nodded and looked at Feng Sanhuang. "Feng Sanhuang, you don't have anything else to say? I've said a lot of what needs to be said. You can fill in the rest." "Okay." Feng Sanhuang was helpless. Lin Yi had said so much already, it didn't matter if he said it or not. Even if Feng Tianlin blamed him, Lin Yi would be there, so he told the truth. "Miss Shu, I'm a bodyguard sent by your father to protect you. In fact, Master has always cared about you. These years, your path has been smooth sailing, it's also because of Master's help. There are people with bad intentions, I'll help you solve it. I will help you deal with it. If there is pressure from the company, Master will use his connections to settle it. You should be able to feel it too. So that's how it is." Shu Shahan nodded. All these years, Shu Shahan herself felt that her path to stardom was too smooth. She didn't encounter any unspoken rules and rejected some of the company's activities. The company didn't freeze her, instead, they welcomed her with a smile, so Shu Shahan's fame grew. Of course. It couldn't be denied that Shu Shahan's hard work and talent played a part in it, but without someone helping her in the dark, it wouldn't have been so smooth. After all, Shu Shahan wasn't the only one with hard work and talent, but only Shu Shahan succeeded. This meant that there were some problems. Nowadays, most of the celebrities in the company relied on their bodies or their family's influence to get to where they were. Shu Shahan was very clear about this. Although there were some who achieved success through their own hard work, there weren't many. Shu Shahan was the most successful among them. This could be considered a miracle, but now it seemed that it wasn't. It was inevitable. "Then, what's my father's name?" Shahan asked. Feng Sanhuang looked at Lin Yi. He didn't know if he should tell Shu Shahan Feng Tianlin's name or not. "His name is Feng Tianlin, His background is the ancient Feng family, an ancient aristocratic family. You should have heard of this name before. Lin Yi said to Shu Shahan, it's a higher level of hidden aristocratic family. Ancient. Shahan nodded, but she didn't seem to know much about it, so, my surname isn't Shu. My surname is Feng. Oh right, do you know your mother's name? Perhaps, I can help you look for her. Lin Yi asked. Feng Tianlin had been looking for her, but he might not be able to find her. After all, Feng Tianlin didn't dare to look for her openly. Among the Feng family's people, one of them might be Feng Tianhu's trusted aide. If Feng Tianhu found out, then things would be even worse. But Lin Yi was different. Lin Yi could ask Ji Xian to help him look. Ji Xian was someone who knew about the ancient world. Maybe he could find her. I don't know. Shahan shook her head and sighed. At that time, I was too young. I don't remember my mother's name. Then forget it, I'll ask Uncle Feng myself when I have the chance. Lin Yi nodded. Today's matter is settled. Han, since everyone is so familiar with each other, let's go back to my villa. Yao Yao and Shu miss you too. Ian, okay. Shahan breathed out in relief. It was Lin Yi's villa. There was no problem. Shahan, Meng Yao, and Yushu got along well. Everyone was familiar with each other. It wouldn't be inconvenient for them to live together. On the way, Shahan was still worried about these things. But in a blink of an eye, it was all gone. Feng Sanhuang, on the other hand, was worried. He wanted to find a chance to call Feng Tianlin and tell him what happened. What happened was out of Feng Sanhuang's control. These things were supposed to be kept secret. Now that Shahan knew about it, it was all because of his mistake. Although, this mistake could be said to be a combination of many factors. He didn't know that Lin Yi was Lin Yi, and he just happened to know Lin Yi. In the end, he recognized Lin Yi at the airport and called Lin Yi, which made Shahan suspicious. At the end of the day, he was also responsible for this. If he had made an agreement with Lin Yi beforehand and told each other their names and clothes, this kind of mistake wouldn't have happened. However, it had already happened, and no one could change it. The car drove towards the direction of the villa. Meng Yao and Yu Shu were sitting on the sofa, whispering to each other. Yao sis, you must like Shield bro, don't deny it. Yu Shu said. How is that possible? I don't like Shield bro, Meng Yao said. Look, you're talking nonsense. You also call him Shield bro. Yu Shu didn't believe it. I didn't. Isn't it because of you? When Meng Yao said this, she asked herself in her heart. Did she like Lin Yi? They probably liked each other. But, was there any possibility between the two of them? Denial after denial, misunderstandings after misunderstandings. Meng Yao and Lin Yi's relationship was only maintained at the level of friends, not taking it to the next step. Seeing other girls around her becoming Lin Yi's girlfriends one after another, it was impossible for Meng Yao to not have any thoughts. Chapter 3072. If Lin Yi didn't take the initiative to say it, she wouldn't either. Even if Lin Yi accepted her, it'd still be a charity, wouldn't it? With Lin Yi and Meng Yao's relationship, Meng Yao believed that as long as she said it, Lin Yi would accept her out of consideration for her face. But this wasn't what the miss wanted. She wanted a love that didn't need to be spectacular, but she didn't need charity. Why could Tang Yun, Xiao Xiao, Wang Xinyan, and Sun Jingyi? Was it because Tang Yun was pretty, Xiao Xiao was proactive, and Wang Xinyan and Sun Jingyi were helpful to Lin Yi? But she wasn't any worse than Tang Yun. Damn Lin Yi, would it kill you to chase me? The miss was touched by Yushu's words today, but she suddenly realized that she cared about Lin Yi, and hoped that Lin Yi would chase her. As for what she said before about not liking him, it was just a lie. It might have been true in the beginning, but as time went by, Meng Yao couldn't tell if she really didn't like him, or if it was just an excuse to numb herself. Could it be because she was too familiar with Lin Yi? There were many times when a man and a woman who were too familiar with each other couldn't become lovers. But she and Lin Yi weren't that familiar either, right? At least, she didn't know what he was thinking, and Lin Yi didn't know what she was thinking either. At that thought, Meng Yao glared at Yu Shu. Big tits, can't you be a little more hardworking? I said I don't like you, and you're not going to help me. Where's your usual smarts? Dropping the ball at a critical moment. Stupid unlucky Shu. Oh. Yao Yao, why are you glaring at me? I'll stop talking, alright? Yu Shu shrunk her neck and shut her mouth after seeing Meng Yao's scary look. Meng Yao wanted nothing more than to kick Yu Shu into outer space. Since when did I forbid you from talking? I mean, say it a little harder, you stupid Shu, you're pissing me off. Yu Shu looked at Meng Yao's furious face and found it a little strange. Yao Yao. I already said it, why are you still scowling at me? Then Shu, I won't make this kind of joke anymore, okay? No. Meng Yao finally gathered her courage and roared. The roar scared Yu Shu so much that she jumped up from the sofa with a whoosh, her hair almost standing on end. But just when Yu Shu was wondering what that no meant, and why Yao Yao was so angry, the sound of a car came from the villa. Meng Yao roared. He used up all the courage in his body, but he didn't want to explain anything to Yu Shu anymore. He stood up. Lin Yi is back. Let's go out and take a look. I wonder which celebrity it is. Is it what we like? We just like Sister Shahan. We don't like anyone else, Yu Shu said. Then let's go take a look. His Lin Yi's guest, after all. Meng Yao said as she walked towards the door. Yu Shu saw Meng Yao leave. She followed behind her and walked out of the villa with her. At this time, Lin Yi's car also drove into the villa. Lin Yi got out of the car first, and at this time, the other doors of the car also opened. Shu Shahan also got out of the car from the front passenger seat. Ah! Meng Yao saw Shu Shahan and suddenly froze. Lin Yi, didn't you go to pick someone up? Why did you bring Sister Shahan back? Hihi, Yao Yao, the person I want to protect is Shu Shahan. She is Feng Shashan's sister. I just found out about the specific situation. Let's go in and talk. Lin Yi also smiled bitterly and spread his hands. To be honest, he was shocked at the beginning. Okay. Meng Yao nodded and let out a sigh of relief. She was happy that she would be able to live with the star she liked in the future, but she was also a little disappointed. With Shu Shahan's addition, Lin Yi's attention would be on other girls again. When would he notice her again? When this thought came up, it scared the miss. I actually care about Lin Yi so much. Meng Yao looked at Yu Shu from the corner of her eyes. She was a little annoyed. Big breasts and no brains. It was right. She dropped the ball at the critical moment. Yu Shu felt wronged under Meng Yao's angry gaze. She used to try her best to matchmake Meng Yao and Lin Yi, but she was scolded every time. Now that she didn't dare to matchmake them, she was dissatisfied. How could she be so unlucky? The group entered Lin Yi's villa. Although Wang Sis was a strict person, she had a good impression of Lin Yi. Especially since Lin Yi's medicine company solved Shu Shahan's problem. Lin Yi was Shu Shahan's savior. She was still very polite to Lin Yi. Mr. Lin, it's not a problem for Miss Shu to stay here, but it's not convenient for me to stay here. Wang Sis also visited Lin Yi's villa. She realized that Lin Yi's villa wasn't too big. There weren't that many rooms. There were 2 rooms upstairs. One for Shu Shahan, and the other for Meng Yao and Yu Shu. There were 3 rooms downstairs. One for Lin Yi, one for San Huang, and one for Wu Chentian. There were no empty rooms. Therefore, Sister Wang was also very reasonable and said, why don't I move out to live? There's a hotel nearby. It's not bad. It's fine. Chentian walked out of his room at this time. He usually practiced in his room, and although he couldn't practice on his own after Lin Yi leveled up his practitioner's arts, he was still a dual practitioner. After leveling up his spiritual arts, he needed to improve his physical arts as well, and so he practiced whenever he had nothing to do, and only came out when he had something to do. Mr. Feng, can we stay in the same room? We're both men, it's fine. Sure. San Huang didn't have any objections. You're a practitioner too, right? At night, I will mainly meditate and cultivate. The 2 of us can also learn from each other and discuss cultivation matters. Then it's settled. Lin Yi nodded. Han, Yu, Yao Yao, and Shu can stay upstairs. Wang Sis and Feng Bro can stay downstairs. After arranging the rooms, Lin Yi told Meng Yao and Yu Shu about Shu Shahan's situation. Meng Yao and Shu sympathized with Shu Shahan's childhood. They didn't know that behind a superstar, There were so many unknown tragedies. San Huang, on the other hand, found a place with no one and called Tianlin. Chapter 3073. Yes, but... Master, there's a small problem here. Feng Sanhuang smiled bitterly. Miss Xu knows about your situation and identity. Knows? What's going on? Feng Tianlin was taken aback. He immediately became nervous and asked in a deep voice, what's going on? How did Xiao Han know? It's like this. Feng Sanhuang didn't dare to hide it and told Feng Tianlin everything. He didn't dare to push the blame to Lin Yi, he wasn't that kind of person. Oh! Feng Tianlin heard San Huang's words and was slightly taken aback. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. However, he couldn't blame San Huang for this. If he had to blame someone, he could only blame himself for not telling San Huang that Ling Yi was Lin Yi. However, Feng Tianlin didn't think that much. But, when he heard Xu Shahan's reaction, he let out a sigh of relief. He was comforted. Feng Tianlin had been hiding the truth from Xu Shahan all these years because he didn't dare to tell her. He was afraid that if he told her the truth, she would hate him and ignore him. After all, when Xu Shahan's mother was hurt, Feng Tianlin had a big responsibility. He didn't protect Xu Shahan and her mother well, causing Xu Shahan to be separated from her mother. So, Feng Tianlin could only do things for Xu Shahan behind the scenes, but he didn't dare to acknowledge her. This wasn't what Feng Sanhuang had guessed, but if Feng Tianlin and Xu Shahan acknowledged each other, it would make Dongfang Xiaocui unhappy and give Feng Tianhu the opportunity to take revenge. Because, whether it was Dongfang Xiaocui or Feng Tianhu, they already knew about Xu Shahan's village. Only Feng Tianlin's heart couldn't get over it. Plus, Feng Tianlin was a cowardly person. With his current position, he couldn't guarantee that Grandpa Feng would agree to Xu Shahan's return. If he didn't agree, then Feng Tianlin would be even more embarrassed. So, he had been working hard all these years, but his personality determined that he wasn't the material to be the head of a family. He would endure, but he wasn't decisive. It was a far cry from Feng's poem. Feng Shipian knew how to endure patiently and make a decisive decision at a crucial moment. This was also the reason why he recognized Lin Yi as his boss without any hesitation and even mentioned it during the family meeting. In comparison, Feng Shishan was a better candidate for the position of patriarch. As for Feng Nitian, he was all brawn and no brains. Arrogant and despotic. This kind of person would still have room for growth if he didn't meet a strong enemy. However, if he was crippled because he was showing off, then he wouldn't have any chance. In fact, this was all based on luck. Even though the local tyrant had been crippled, he was still able to act tough. But he was lucky. Moreover, he had realized his mistake and turned back. If Nitian was smart enough, he would repent at home. He didn't want to argue with Feng Shipian anymore. Maybe he could plead with Lin Yi and Lin Yi could cure him. However, he didn't repent, so he couldn't blame others. Arid Triad. It's good to talk about this. Feng Tianlin didn't hate Xu Shahan. He felt gratified and said, when this is over, I'll go see Xiao Han myself. Yes, master. San Huang saw that Feng Tianlin wasn't too angry and breathed a sigh of relief, and so, Xu Shahan stayed in Lin Yi's villa. Lin Yi, after receiving 2 large sums of money, gave it to Fatty Lai. Fatty Lai's medical company also received some relief. Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. Luckily, this idiot Shen Yingjun came to give him money. However, if he wanted Xiaoke's orphanage and House Liu to return to normal, it all depended on Liu Jinghan. The genius girl of House Liu. Lin Yi only saw her once at the meeting of the noble houses. She was wearing a veil at that time, so Lin Yi didn't pay much attention to her. But Han Jingjing praised her so much. It seemed that Liu Jinghan had some capabilities. At least, Han Jingjing, the little genius, wouldn't push a mediocre person. He planned on going to see Liu Jinghan after he was done with the things on hand. In fact, even if the ancient House Dongfang had decided to deal with Xu Shahan, they couldn't do it immediately. After all, there were rules and regulations for the ancient world to act against people from the common world. It wasn't allowed at all. Although the ancient House Dongfang was strong, they didn't dare to go against the rules. They had to find a suitable excuse. Only with an excuse would it be convenient to act. Of course, This excuse couldn't have anything to do with Shu Shahan. Although Shu Shahan was Feng Tianlin's illegitimate daughter, it wasn't made public. House Feng hadn't acknowledged their ancestors yet. If they made a move against Shu Shahan, it would be the same as making a move against people from the common world. This was a provocation against the rules of the ancient world. Unless the House Dongfang sent a few death warriors out, they wouldn't admit it even if they were found out. But that was impossible. If Dongfang Buruo wanted to go himself, then it wouldn't be as simple as not admitting it and hiding their identity. Therefore, the House Dongfang had been looking for an excuse these few days. The person Dongfang Jinxing sent this time was Dongfang Cha, an early-stage heaven-class master from the House Dongfang. She was an experienced master from the House Dongfang, an expert in kidnapping and extortion. The House Dongfang wasn't as clean as it looked on the surface. An ancient family like this, if they didn't get some dirty money, how could they support a family like this? There were so many masters in the House Dongfang, but they didn't have any source of income. The amount of medicine and pills they spent every year was not a small amount. Reporting to young master, I have just received some very bad news. Elder Dongfang Jian is dead. Just when Dongfang Jinxing was looking for an excuse to enter the common world, a disciple of the House Dongfang ran over and said while panting, "What did you say?" Dongfang Jinxing jumped up from his seat in shock. Looking at the disciple, he asked, "Dongfang Jian is dead. Didn't Dongfang Jian go to the Cultivator Trade Association to look for herbs to improve Bu Chuo's meridians? How did he die?" "Young master, this is the news from the Cultivator Trade Association. Elder Dongfang Jian is dead." The disciple said carefully. "What happened? How did Dongfang Jian die? Could it be that he was killed by someone?" Dongfang Jinxing's face became extremely gloomy. "Tell me in detail." Chapter 3074. I'm not too sure about that. According to Vice President Ouyang of the Cultivator Trade Association, Elder Dongfang Jian got into a conflict with someone when he was searching for medicinal ingredients. The other party was even stronger than Elder Dongfang Jian, so he killed Elder Dongfang Jian. The disciple told the story from beginning to end. Who was it? Who was stronger than Dongfang Jian? After all, Dongfang Jian was a peak mid-heaven rank powerhouse. Who could kill him? Was it a group attack? Dongfang Jinxing asked. I'm not sure about that. Vice Chairman Ouyang said that when the association arrived, Elder Dongfang Jian was already dead, but they didn't see who did it. The disciple said. Didn't see it? Didn't you ask them to investigate? Dongfang Jinxing was in a good mood, but now he was in a bad mood. Dongfang Buruo was going to find Shu Shahan, and Dongfang Jinxing was happy about it. He could help Dongfang Xiaotsue and make his son happy, so why not? Even when Dongfang Xiaotsue called to cancel, Dongfang Jinxing knew that deep in her heart, she still hoped that something would happen to Shu Shahan, but because of Feng Tianlin, he couldn't do that. And so Dongfang Jinxing strongly rejected it, and Dongfang Xiaotsue and Feng Tianlin couldn't do anything about it. But now, Dongfang Jian was actually dead. This was simply a wake-up call. Although the Dongfang family was powerful, they weren't filled with heaven rankers. Dongfang Jinxing was a peak mid-heaven ranker, while Dongfang Jinxing was only a late heaven ranker. This was the second person from Dongfang Jinxing to die. His other son, Dongfang Baru, was even more talented than Dongfang Jinxing, and Dongfang Jinxing was planning to groom him as the future of Dongfang Jinxing, but who would have thought that he would be killed by Zhong Naipao in the TES? Everyday sect. Dongfang Jinxing didn't dare to retaliate. They were the typical type of people who bullied the weak and feared the strong. This was different from Fiery Mountain. Dongfang Jinxing saw that they weren't as strong as the everyday sect, so they didn't bother them at all. Of course, this was also because Dongfang Baru died in the Sky Elixir sect's test. If it wasn't the Sky Elixir sect's test, Dongfang Jinxing would have demanded an explanation. Even if he wasn't a match for him, he should at least give him some compensation, right? Fortunately, Dongfang Jinxing's other son, Dongfang Buwei, was not weak. Although he was a bit of a playboy, he was still talented. Now, he was a peak late-phase Earth-class master. As long as his meridians were improved, breaking through to Sky class wouldn't be a problem. Stepping into sky-class peak late phase wouldn't be a dream either. He, Dongfang Jinxing, had 2 good sons. This was also his pride. Now that Dongfang Jian had died while collecting herbs for Dongfang Buruo, Dongfang Jinxing had to avenge him no matter what. Otherwise, who would work for the Dongfang family in the future? Thinking of this, Dongfang Jinxing waved his hand and motioned the disciple to leave first. Then he walked quickly to the room of the current head of the Dongfang family, Dongfang Badao. The Dongfang family had 3 heaven-rank peak late-phase experts. Both are in retreat to break through the Great Perfection realm. One of them is the old man of Dongfang Badao, the other is the son of Dongfang Badao. Dongfang Jinxing's younger brother, Dongfang Yinxing, and Dongfang Bu Li, who had died in the Heavenly Elixir Sect's trial. With the existence of 3 heaven-rank peak late-phase experts, the strength of the Dongfang family can be imagined. It is quite tyrannical, and the old man of Dongfang is also quite overbearing as his name suggests. Once he breaks through to the Great Perfection, I am afraid that he will definitely find the everyday sect to ask for an explanation, but now, he dare not. Dongfang Jinxing knocked on the door, and the voice of the old man of Dongfang came from inside. Who is it? What's the matter? Father, it's me, Jinxing. Dongfang Jinxing replied. Oh, Jinxing, come in. Dongfang Badao nodded. Father, something happened to elder Dongfang Jian. As soon as Dongfang Jinxing entered the door, he said quickly. What? Something happened to Dongfang Jian? What happened? What happened? Dongfang Badao was shocked and asked quickly. It's like this. Dongfang Jinxing quickly told the old man what the disciple had said before. Cultivator Trading Association? Conflict with others? Dongfang Badao frowned. Jinxing, have you called the Cultivator Trading Association personally to ask? Not yet. I came to ask Father first to see if you have any instructions. Dongfang Jinxing said. Well, I'll ask the Cultivator Trading Association personally. Dongfang Badao also knew that with Dongfang Jinxing's weight, he probably wouldn't be able to ask anything, so he was going to call and ask in person. After all, the Cultivator Trading Association was a very powerful existence. The president there was already a heaven stage master, and several honorary presidents were even masters of the peak late stage of heaven stage great perfection. How could the Dongfang family dare to act rashly? Yinxing, bring me my phone. Dongfang Badao said to Dongfang Yinxing on the side. Yes, father. Although Dongfang Yinxing was stronger than Dongfang Jinxing, he did not have a family, nor did he have children, and he was unwilling to take care of the family's trifles. He liked to cultivate every day, so he did not compete with Dongfang Jinxing. Moreover, because he had no children, he was more partial to Dongfang Bujiang and Dongfang Buqiao like the old man of Dongfang. He wanted to train these two to be the successors of the Dongfang family, but he did not expect one to die. Now he was preparing to train the other. Elder Dongfang Jian was killed while looking for medicinal materials for him. How could Dongfang Badao tolerate it? Hello. Is this President Li? Dongfang Badao took the phone and dialed the phone of President Li, the president of the Cultivator Trading Association. It's me, the old man of Dongfang Badao. What's the matter? President Li also had Dongfang Badao's phone number, so he said politely. It's like this, President Li. An elder of our Dongfang family died in your Cultivator Trading Association branch. Is there any news on your side? Dongfang Badao asked. This is Vice President Ouyang's responsibility. We reported the situation to your Dongfang clan. I didn't ask too much about the specifics. President Li said, if your Dongfang clan wants to take revenge, I think it'll be a little difficult. Chapter 3075. The Cultivator Trading Association usually doesn't have an invitation letter. As long as you have enough strength, you can participate. I think you know that Master Dongfang, and we didn't know the identity of the murderer in advance. We didn't even know who the murderer was and how many people were. We didn't know the identity of Dongfang Jian either. It was only after several days of investigation that we learned his identity and informed your Dongfang family immediately, President Li said, and now, you have no clues at all. How can you talk about revenge? President Li, I always feel that this matter is a bit strange. It should be impossible to say that Vice President Ouyang knows nothing about it, right? Heaven Stage Masters fight, such a big battle, he doesn't go and see? If he is really afraid of death and hides, this is a bit unreasonable, right? How can such a greedy and cowardly person be the vice president? Dongfang Badao wanted to find a breakthrough from this Vice President Ouyang, so in the end, he just wanted President Li to relent and let the Dongfang family go directly to Vice President Ouyang for questioning. Master Dongfang, to be honest, I also have some doubts in my heart about this matter. Either Vice President Ouyang knows and does not report, or he is incompetent as a vice president, but I can't do anything about it. President Li smiled bitterly and said, I'm not afraid to tell you, Master Dongfang, although Vice President Ouyang is my subordinate, Vice President Ouyang has an uncle who is the Supreme Honorary President of our Cultivator Trading Association, and he is the second Supreme President. Even I don't dare to do anything to him. It turns out to be like this. Dongfang Badao nodded. Fortunately, he didn't act rashly. Otherwise, if he went directly to deal with this Vice President Ouyang, it would be like poking the hornet's nest. The second Supreme Honorary President, that must be a great perfection master with the strength of the peak late stage of Heaven Stage. So, we can't do anything about it. If Master Dongfang wants to find the murderer, you can secretly investigate it yourself. President Li said. Okay, thank you, President Li. Dongfang Badao nodded. It seemed that this matter really had to be investigated by the Dongfang family themselves, but in this way, Dongfang Badao found a reason to let the masters of his family enter the secular world. To investigate the cause of Dongfang Jian's death, sending a young master heir and a family elder was not a big battle, and others would not doubt anything. As for some minor conflicts with the people of the secular world during the investigation, no one would say anything. After all, these things were inevitable. After hanging up the phone, Dongfang Badao gave the phone to Dongfang Yinxing, then looked up at Dongfang Jinxing and said, Jinxing, this time, let Bully and Dongfang Cha openly investigate the cause of Dongfang Jian's death. In secret, they could do whatever they wanted. In this way, it wouldn't be considered as violating the ancient agreement. But first, we must inform the Heavenly Elixir sect and the other big sects of our purpose before we take action, so that no one can use it against us. Yes. Father, I understand. Dongfang Jinxing's eyes lit up and he understood the meaning of Dongfang Badao. This way, they could kill two birds with one stone. They could investigate the cause of Dongfang Jian's death, and Dongfang Buruo could deal with Xu Shahan. All right, you may leave. I'm going to continue cultivating, Dongfang Badao said. I have touched the barrier of great perfection. It is estimated that in the recent 6 months, there will be some progress. At that time, our Dongfang family will have a master of great perfection in the late stage of Heaven Stage, and we can be ranked among the first-class ancient sect. Okay, Father, then you and brother continue to cultivate. If you can all break through, then our Dongfang family will be even more powerful. Dongfang Jinxing said quickly. Ian, Silver Star is still a little bit worse. If he didn't lose and fall, I'm afraid his strength is not inferior to Silver Star. Ari, he is the genius of our Dongfang family, and he fell like this. Wait for this old man to break through to the peak of Heaven Stage late stage, then I will go to the everyday sect to settle accounts. I must let them give me an explanation. Dongfang Badao sneered. Yes, now, we can only swallow our anger. Dongfang Jinxing nodded. Jinxing, your strength is actually not bad. You practice well, and it should not be a problem to raise your strength to the peak of Heaven Stage late stage. You just think too much about the family all day long. Your aptitude is not much worse than Silver Star. Dongfang Badao said. Okay, Father, I will work hard. Dongfang Jinxing smiled bitterly. Before, he wanted to be the young master, but after becoming the young master, he realized how much the young master delayed his cultivation. Of course, if Dongfang Silver Star did not take the initiative to give up his position and compete with Dongfang Jinxing, then it is estimated that Dongfang Jinxing would not think so. Things that are too easy to get are not cherished. If it was like the ancient Feng family, I am afraid it would be another kind of situation. After leaving Dongfang Badao's room, Dongfang Jinxing went to prepare for Dongfang Buruo and Dongfang Cha to enter and leave the secular world. With the attitude that good food is not late, they must be fully prepared, so as not to be criticized by people when they enter and leave the secular world at will. The Dongfang family is not strong enough to ignore others. If Dongfang Badao and Dongfang Silverstar are successful in promoting to the peak of heaven stage late stage, then the Dongfang family will not be afraid. Dark Night Palace. The Great Elder's face was extremely gloomy, because this morning, she received bad news. Palace Master Yi Wn when taking the Qi gathering pill to break through to heaven stage, did not get the inheritance, that is to say, Yi Wn failed to get the inheritance. It must be known that Yi Wn, who has already lost her virginity, wants to accept the inheritance, and the moment of breaking through to heaven stage is the best time to understand the inheritance. If there is no opportunity to understand the inheritance at this time, then there is basically no hope in the next few years. So the Great Elder's heart was broken at this moment, and the dream of the Dark Night Palace was also broken. What the Great Elder is counting on is that she and Yi Wn become the peak of heaven stage late stage at the same time, and then become the participants of the heaven stage island plan, and then set foot on the heavenly way together. In this way, the strength of the Dark Night Palace will have a qualitative leap. Chapter 3076. Although the metal element inheritor of the Dark Palace was an indispensable part of the Sky-class island plan, it wasn't irreplaceable. If the Dark Palace really couldn't do it, then that place, the Five Elements sect, would definitely look for other ways to replace it. It was possible to let a cultivator with a better metal attribute physique gain enlightenment from metal. Although the success rate was relatively low, it was said that wood attribute inheritors could be replaced in this way. Therefore, the Grand Elder really felt a sense of urgency. Yi Wn, tell me, what do you think we should do? The Grand Elder was truly anxious this time. When you married a mortal and gave birth to a little bastard, a part of your Dark Phoenix bloodline was separated. Now, if you don't get the inheritance, our Dark Palace is done for. Done for. Do you understand? I'm sorry. Yi Wn lowered her head. She was already a Sky-class early phase now, but she wasn't happy at all. She knew that she wouldn't be able to get the inheritance in the near future. This was a fatal blow to the Dark Palace. I'm sorry. What's the use of sorry? The Grand Elder gritted her teeth. I've decided, I'll kill Pengzhan, that mortal, and Meng Yaro, that little bastard, to vent my anger. Otherwise, it won't be enough to appease my anger. Don't. Wan jumped in fright. She didn't expect the Grand Elder to be this ruthless. He was going to attack Meng Yaro and Pengzhan. She panicked. Grand Elder, you don't remember Mr. Yang? Wow. Yi Wn, you're using that Yang to threaten me? After the Elder heard Yi Wan's words, it was as if she had stepped on his foot. He flew into a rage and said, that young guy has disappeared for more than 10 years. It's not even certain whether he's dead or not. You want to use him to threaten me? I'm telling you, if he was still alive, he would have come out a long time ago. Would he wait until now? Yi Wn, stop dreaming. The Grand Elder roared in exasperation. Of course, this was for Yi Wn, and also for the Grand Elder herself, because she felt guilty. Although that ruthless man had disappeared for more than 10 years, it was undeniable that he was an incomparably terrifying existence in the Grand Elder's heart. Not to mention the Grand Supreme Elder, any ancient sect would be scared out of their wits at the mention of those two people, the Vajra fiend duo. As for the Great Elder, he had actually fought with one of the two and even compromise. The one with the surname Yang was Yi Wn and Pengzhan's support. If it weren't for him, the Grand Elder wouldn't have let Pengzhan and Meng Yaro go. It was because he was too afraid that the Grand Elder didn't allow anyone to mention this person. Even if this person had disappeared for more than 10 years, the Grand Elder would still feel guilty when she heard this name, so she was flustered and exasperated. Yi Wan felt wronged. Was it wrong to pursue love? Is it wrong to not want to marry someone you don't like? However, in the final analysis, even if Mr. Yang left, if Mr. Yang was still there, would the Supreme Elder dare to do this? If Mr. Yang was still here, then the Palace of Darkness would be destroyed because of him. It wouldn't decline, right? Alright, I declare that from today onwards, Yi Wn will no longer be the palace master of the Dark Palace. The Grand Elder had already made his decision. I will temporarily take over the position of Palace Lord until the Dark Phoenix Guiding Stone is activated and a new inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline is found. She will be the new Palace Lord. The new Palace Master will lead us to glory. Yi Wn didn't really care about the position of Palace Master of the Dark Palace. She just wanted to be a normal girl, spending the rest of her life with Pengzhan, taking care of her husband and raising their children. How happy would that be? But now, she had been forcefully pushed into the position of Palace Master. Every day, aside from training, she would inherit. She was already bored enough, but she couldn't say anything about it. Now, Yi Wn was free. But, what she was most afraid of was that the Grand Elder would do something to Pengzhan and Meng Yaro. So, she didn't care if she was going to fall out with the Grand Elder. She said quickly, Grand Elder, finding a new inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline, and dealing with Pengzhan and Meng Yaro are two different things. Your priority right now is to find the inheritor. Why are you lowering yourself to these two normal people? Plus, Meng Yao's bodyguard, Lin Yi, isn't someone to be trifled with. I heard that he's reached Sky Class early phase now, and can even fight people above his level. You're threatening me again? The Grand Elder glared furiously. Lin Yi, he's just a freelancer trash. Sky Class early phase? Even if he can fight people above his level, what can he do to me? I'll kill him with one slap. I wouldn't have thought of it if you didn't mention it. This Lin Yi, I'm definitely going to get revenge on him. That's right, Lin Yi is arrogant and doesn't respect our palace at all. We should get rid of him as soon as possible. You're wise, Grand Elder. Chibing spoke up. He could tell that Yi Wn had lost her power, and all he had to do now was follow the Grand Elder's footsteps and serve the new Palace Master well. It'd be best if he could become the new Palace Master's confidant, and that'd be the time for him to shine. You guys. Yi Wn fell to the ground, powerless. But she could understand the Grand Elder's anger. From the Grand Elder's point of view, it was Yi Wn's fault for being with Pengzhan back then, leading to the Palace Master's current situation. Alright, that's enough. Elder Li, take Wn to her place to reflect on her wrongdoing. We don't need her in the future. The Grand Elder didn't mind Yi Wn meeting with Elder Li now. Even if the two of them were to plot, they wouldn't be able to come up with anything. Yi Wn had lost her power. She was just a normal disciple of the Palace Master, not even an elder. She could only order Elder Li around, and the others wouldn't listen to her. Elder Li couldn't help her anymore after all. His power was limited. Now, the rest of you, follow me to the Dark Phoenix Palace and activate the Dark Phoenix Guiding Stone to find the next inheritor of the Palace Master. We'll kill Lin Yi, Pengzhan, and Meng Yaro along the way. Let's go, miss, let's go back. Elder Li sighed. It seemed like the Grand Elder had made up his mind, not giving Yi Wn a chance to speak or explain. They could only wait for the Grand Elder to find the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix and be in a good mood before pleading with her. Chapter 3077. Elder Li, tell me, how can we stop the Grand Elder? Wan's heart felt like it was being sliced by a knife. She felt that she was a failure as a mother. It was fine if she couldn't raise her daughter, but in the end, she couldn't even protect her, and was even harming her. Miss, the Great Elder won't do anything to the little miss and the young master for now. After all, her mind isn't on this. The inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline is our palace's priority. The Great Elder is angry right now. Once she finds the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline and is in a good mood, we can go and plead for them. We should be able to make her stop. Elder Li comforted. But, whether or not the Grand Elder could change her mind, Elder Li wasn't too sure, but in order to not hurt Wn, he could only say things in a positive direction. That's true. Wn breathed out in relief. Elder Li, let's go back first. Can you help me find out about Yaro's situation? I'll try my best. Elder Li sighed. I've already given control of the Dark Shadow Group to Zhao Qibing, the disciple of Black Cloak. If I want to find out about these things, I can only rely on the people I've trained in the Dark Shadow Group, but it's very difficult for these people to act alone without Zhao Qibing's permission. Elder Li, I'll have to trouble you then. Wan smiled bitterly. She knew that the Grand Elder was guarding against her and Elder Li, so she did her best to take away their power so that they had no right to speak in the palace. The Grand Elder brought a group of elders and disciples of the Dark Palace. They came together to the Dark Phoenix Palace at the peak of the Dark Phoenix mountain range. Here was the ancient Dark Phoenix guiding stone. This guiding stone. In fact, its original purpose was to find the Dark Phoenix, but an ancestor of the palace accidentally discovered that this stone could also be used to find the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline, and this discovery was used until now. As the Grand Elder of the Dark Palace, it was easy for her to activate the Dark Phoenix guidance stone. She did all the preparations and activated it. Beneath the Dark Phoenix's guiding stone, it was a huge map of the world, and the coordinates were shockingly accurate. After the Dark Phoenix stone was activated, a small, ordinary-looking stone suddenly shone with golden light and flew into the sky, reaching a very high altitude. If it wasn't for its blinding light, the people from the Palace of Darkness wouldn't even be able to see its existence. However, the light was simply too dazzling. Even though the Dark Phoenix guidance stone had already flown to an altitude of several thousand meters, everyone could still see the golden light radiating from it. This was the power of an ancient divine tool. However, this divine artifact could only be used to find the descendant of the Dark Phoenix bloodline. It couldn't be used as a heaven-rank divine artifact. Otherwise, it would be extremely powerful. The Grand Elder and everyone else looked up at the Dark Phoenix guiding stone in the sky with bated breath. They knew that the Dark Phoenix guidance stone was searching for an inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline. From the sky, it searched for any possessors of the Dark Phoenix bloodline. It was the first time Zhao Qibing had seen something like this, and he clicked his tongue in amazement. This Dark Phoenix guidance stone was really something. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have thought that he was watching a sci-fi movie. The hidden world knew too little about these divine weapons, and this was also why even old Zhao didn't have a heaven-class weapon. The hidden house's foundation wasn't strong enough to have something like this. Even in the ancient sects, there weren't many heaven-ranked divine weapons left. Not every heaven-ranked expert could find a divine weapon that was suitable for them to use. This was also the reason why Lin Yi was able to trade a weapon that the Snowy Valley had taken a liking to. Otherwise, the Snowy Valley wouldn't have been willing to take such a loss. The Dark Phoenix guidance stone kept circling in the air, emitting a blinding golden light. Everyone from the Dark Palace was extremely nervous, their hearts racing. The Grand Elder himself, on the other hand, was holding his breath. The contents of the Dark Phoenix guidance stone affected the future of the entire Dark Palace. If the stone couldn't find an inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline, then the Dark Palace would be finished. Actually, the Dark Phoenix guidance stone hadn't been circling in the sky for a long time. In fact, it could even be said to be very short. However, this short 10 minutes felt like a year to everyone present. Even Zhao Qibing was a little nervous. After all, if the Dark Palace became strong, then he would be the strong one. If the Dark Palace was finished, then how was he going to take revenge on Lin Yi? And so, Zhao Qibing prayed in his heart, praying that the Dark Phoenix guidance stone would be able to find an inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline smoothly. Slowly, the golden light on the Dark Phoenix guidance stone grew dimmer and dimmer, disappearing as the stone started to descend as well. Either the Dark Phoenix guiding stone had found the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline, or the Dark Phoenix guiding stone hadn't found the inheritor. There were only two possibilities. The result would soon be revealed. With a swoosh, the Dark Phoenix guidance stone landed on a spot on the map. But no matter where it landed, as long as it didn't land on the starting point, it meant that it had found the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline. Found it, Grand Elder, found it. Zhao Qibing pointed at the map and yelled. As far as he was concerned, the Dark Palace was about to become strong, and he, Zhao Qibing, was about to follow suit. What's the coordinate? Write it down and look it up on the computer. The Grand Elder was very excited. He didn't think that they would really find it. In this world, other than the inheritors of the Dark Palace, there was someone else with the Dark Phoenix bloodline. One had to know that the Dark Phoenix guidance stone couldn't be wrong. If it said there was, then there was. And now, They didn't need to look for the coordinates anymore. Now that they had computers, the Dark Palace was also using this kind of high-tech equipment. As long as they input the coordinates of the Dark Phoenix Guidance Stone into the computer, they would be able to pinpoint a city. Although it was only a city's area, as long as they knew the approximate distance, the Grand Elder would be able to sense the existence of the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline. All he had to do was follow his intuition. Chapter 3078. He entered the coordinates Zhao Qibing gave him into the computer, but the city's location shocked the Grand Elder. Grand Elder, the coordinates are in the north of East Ocean City. The disciple reported the result to the Grand Elder. Donghai City? Grand Elder, of course, wasn't a stranger to Donghai City. She sent people to cause trouble for Lin Yi in Donghai City, but she didn't expect the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline to be in Donghai City as well. If the Grand Elder had known this, he would have gone to East Ocean City himself. Only those who had cultivated the Dark Knight Palace cultivation technique and reached the late stage of the Heaven Realm could sense the aura of the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline, but the black-robed elder didn't have this ability. That's right, it's Donghai City. The disciple turned the screen to face Grand Elder. The Grand Elder glanced at it and nodded, knowing that the disciple wouldn't lie to her. Now, she was ready to go to East Ocean City in person. Donghai City? That's great. It's heaven's will. Grand Elder smiled coldly. This way, I don't even have to do anything. I'll just find the inheritor and kill Lin Yi, Meng Yaro, and Peng Zhan. Grand Elder, you're wise. Zhao Qibing was overjoyed. If the Grand Elder came personally, then Lin Yi would be nothing no matter how strong he was. Grand Elder was a sky-class late-stage peak now. Killing Lin Yi would be a piece of cake. All right, Qibing, don't flatter me. I know you want to kill Lin Yi, but so do I. But this old one is also the same. Grand Elder said, but this time, you don't have to go with us. After all, I'm going out to find the inheritor, and if you go with me, it won't be easy for you to take revenge. Yes. Qibing wanted to see Lin Yi die with his own eyes, but since Grand Elder said no, he couldn't force it, could he? Black-clothed Elder, go talk to the Heavenly Elixir sect and a few other big ancient sects. The Palace of Darkness has activated the Dark Phoenix Guiding Stone and found a new inheritor of the Dark Phoenix. I'm going to enter the mortal world, the Great Elder said to the Elder in black. Yes. The black-clothed Elder quickly nodded. This time, it's perfectly justifiable for us to go. Let's see if the Heavenly Elixir sect dares to stop us. After returning the Dark Phoenix Guiding Stone to its original position and sealing the mechanism, the Grand Elder led the crowd away. He was preparing to enter and leave the mortal world. Yi Wn and Elder Li were the first to know what happened in the Dark Knight Palace. Although Yi Wn and Elder Li had lost their power, they still had some confidence in the Dark Knight Palace. They didn't need to hide what happened before, and they needed to spread the news to all the disciples of the Dark Knight Palace. So Yi Wana and Elder Li also knew. Elder Li, what a coincidence, they're both in Donghai. The Great Elder is going to deal with Yaro Yaro and Peng Zhan. What should we do? Yi Wana was a little lost. Although she was a Sky-class early phase master, she didn't have any of the dignity of a Sky-class master. She was like a little girl. Young miss, I didn't expect such a coincidence either. Originally, if we were in two different cities, after the Grand Elder found the Dark Phoenix's inheritor, he would focus all his attention on the Dark Phoenix's inheritor and not bother young miss and young master. However, now that we're in the same city and it's on the way, it'll be easy for him to take revenge. This is a little difficult. Elder Li was also having a headache. The coincidences had caught him off guard. Then, what should we do? Yi Wana panicked. I'll go beg the Great Elder now and ask her to show mercy. I'm still a Sky-class master. Even if I'm not the Palace Master, I can still be an Elder of the Dark Knight Palace. The Great Elder wouldn't want me to have a problem with the Dark Knight Palace because of Yaro Yaro and Peng Zhan, right? Oh, that's a good reason. How about this? We'll go see the Great Elder now. Elder Li nodded and said, okay. Yi Wana also nodded and quickly ran with Elder Li to the Great Elder's room. At this moment, the black-clothed Elder had just gone to notify the Sky Elixir sect and a series of larger ancient sects. This way, The Dark Knight Palace would have enough reason to enter the mortal world. Great Elder, Palace Master. Yi Wana and Elder Li are here to see you. A disciple carefully reported to the Great Elder. He almost said Palace Master, but after thinking about it carefully, he realized that it wasn't right. Right now, Yi Wana wasn't the Palace Master anymore. Oh, what are they here for? The Supreme Elder frowned. He didn't need to think about it to know that they were here to plead for leniency. But now that the Supreme Elder was in a good mood, he said to the disciple, "Okay, then let them come in." "Yes." The disciple quickly replied and left the room. After a while, Yi Wana and Elder Li walked into the Great Elder's room together. "Yi Wana, Elder Li, why are you two here?" the Great Elder asked. "Great Elder, first of all, Elder Li and I are here to congratulate the Great Elder for finding the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline. This is a joyous occasion for the Dark Knight Palace, and as the previous Palace Master, I'm naturally very happy." Yi Wana didn't dare talk about Meng Yaro and Peng Zhan directly, so she said a few good things first. "Yes, this is indeed a good thing." The Grand Elder was also very happy. The Palace of Darkness was almost finished, but now, it was back from the dead. "There's one more thing that I would like to speak to the Great Elder about." Elder Li suddenly spoke up. "Speak." The Great Elder waved his hand and said to Elder Li, "It's like this, Great Elder, look, Yi Wana used to be the Palace Master, and although she isn't now, she's still an early phase Sky class. We're currently lacking talents, so Yi Wana can become an Elder?" Elder Li said. "That's for sure, an early phase Sky class is more than enough to become an Elder of the Dark Knight Palace." The Great Elder nodded. Chapter 3079. Ah! The Elder couldn't help but nod. One had to admit that Elder Li's words made sense. If she were to kill Peng Zhan and Meng Yaro, then Yi Wana would be traumatized as well, and wouldn't be so eager to serve the Palace of Darkness. The Great Elder was a person who placed benefits above all else. In her heart, face and dignity were not important. Only the benefits of the sect were the most important. As long as it could bring benefits to the sect, it was a good thing. Those who brought benefits were good people. Otherwise, it was the opposite. "No, Grand Elder." Just as the Grand Elder was hesitating and about to agree to Elder Li's request, Zhao Qibing jumped out. "Oh, ambush, why not?" asked the Supreme Elder. Qibing only wanted to kill Lin Yi. Whether Meng Yaro and Peng Zhan died or not, it didn't matter to him. The ones he wanted to kill the most were Lin Yi and Yu Shu, but, if the Grand Elder were to let Meng Yaro and Peng Zhan go, he wouldn't kill Lin Yi for him alone. So, Qibing jumped out and objected. "Grand Elder, think about it. If you make a mistake and don't get punished, wouldn't everyone make a mistake?" Qibing asked back, if this new inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline had a boyfriend, and she slept with him in private, wouldn't she learn from Yi Wana and we wouldn't punish her? Without severe punishment, how can we make her listen to us? Qibing, you're right. The Grand Elder nodded. Indeed, nothing could be accomplished without rules. If he let Peng Zhan and Meng Yaro go, then he'd be in trouble. If the new inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline were to follow suit, wouldn't it be a complete mess? Grand Elder. It's not like that. Yi Wana immediately became anxious. Grand Elder, I agree with Zhao Qibing's opinion. The black-robed elder did not give Yi Wana a chance to speak. He interrupted her and said to the Grand Elder, not only must he be punished, he must be severely punished. At that time, he'd find the inheritor and kill Peng Zhan and Meng Yaro right in front of the inheritor's face. Kill the chicken to warn the monkey, let her see the consequences of disobedience. Elder Blackrobe, you're right. The High Elder nodded. She had already made her decision. She waved her hand at Yi Wana and said, Yi Wana, you and Elder Li can go back. I have made up my mind, and the matter has already been decided. There will be no more changes. This. Grand Elder, I beg you, please let Yaro and the others go, they are innocent. Yi Wana was anxious. He immediately knelt on the ground. Zhao Qibing, send the guest off. The Grand Elder hemped coldly, unmoved by Yi Wana's plea. Yi Wana, Elder Li, please? You don't want to piss off the Grand Elder, do you? Qibing said. He didn't put Yi Wn and Elder Li in his eyes at all. They were just existences that had lost power in the Palace of Darkness. Chibing believed that as long as he held onto the Grand Elder and the new Palace Master's thighs, his position in the Palace of Darkness would be secure. Of course, this was just the Grand Elder's wishful thinking. If he found the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline, would she definitely come to the Palace of Darkness to train? What if she didn't come? As far as the Grand Elder was concerned, the Palace of Darkness was very powerful. It was an ancient sect, and people could gain immortality and strength through training. This was something that others would kill for. Wasn't Zhao Chibing the same as well? So, as far as the Grand Elder was concerned, as long as he found the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline, she would cry and beg to come back to the Palace of Darkness with him. The question of whether or not she would come didn't even cross his mind. Yi Wana and Elder Li had no choice but to go back first. Yi Wana could only wash her face with tears, while Elder Li could only sigh. There was nothing he could do. A Lexus LX 570 stopped in front of Shueshong Business Hotel. This was a business hotel located in East Ocean University. A young man and a middle-aged man got out of the car. These two, naturally, were Dongfang Buruo and Dongfang Cha, who had come to Donghai City. Dongfang Cha, are you sure that Xu Shahan has come to Donghai City? Dongfang Buruo had gone through a long journey, and he had some necessities. Although he was a practitioner, he rarely took a car. This sudden trip made him very uncomfortable. He wanted to find a girl to have some fun with, and the best candidate was Xu Shahan. So, as soon as the car stopped, Dongfang Buruo couldn't wait anymore. I'm sure, young Master Buruo. Xu Shahan secretly took a plane to Donghai City and didn't inform the media, but I still found her flight records through a company in the common world, Dongfang Cha said. Dongfang Cha said, plus, Feng Tianlin of the ancient Feng family already knows about this. He doesn't want anything to happen to Xu Shahan, so he will definitely tell her to hide. So, Xu Shahan must be in East Ocean City. Then how do we know where Xu Shahan is? Dongfang Buruo was getting impatient. Donghai City is so big, where are we going to find her? Don't worry, there will be news soon. I have other sources of information, Dongfang Cha said. Okay, if that's the case, then we'll wait. Dongfang Buruo knew that he wouldn't be able to see Xu Shahan today, so he said to Dongfang Cha, go find me a few female students, I want to have some fun. I've been cooped up at home for so long, I finally have the chance to come out and have some fun. No problem, young Master Buruo. Dongfang Cha nodded. Although, in his eyes, Dongfang Buruo was far from Dongfang Buruo, he couldn't help it. Dongfang Buruo died. Now that Dongfang Buruo was the only heir of the Dongfang family, Dongfang Cha would be able to get on Dongfang Buruo's good side. Then get me a room to rest first. Dongfang Buruo nodded. As far as he was concerned, getting Xu Shahan to bed with a master like Dongfang Cha wasn't a difficult task. Even without Dongfang Cha, he, Dongfang Buruo, who was an Earth-class late-phase peak, could handle it. On the other hand, investigating the cause of Dongfang Jian's death was more difficult. Who knew who Dongfang Jian offended in the Cultivator Trade Association? Now, the association wasn't cooperating, and he had to investigate by himself. How was he supposed to investigate? To be honest, Dongfang Buruo came to the common world for Xu Shahan. Dongfang Jian's death was just an excuse. He didn't care about it at all. Chapter 3080. He was a cold-blooded man. To him, Dongfang Jian might have died because of him, but he was still an elder of the Dongfang family. It was his honor to sacrifice for the family. Dongfang Cha went to look for a number for Dongfang Buruo. It had to be said that there were a lot of materialistic women working part-time. Dongfang Cha didn't even need to go out. She directly asked the hotel and got a lot of phone numbers. After finding two for Dongfang Buruo, Dongfang Cha left the hotel and prepared to inquire about Dongfang Jian. Dongfang Buruo didn't care about Dongfang Jian's death, but Dongfang Cha was very concerned about Dongfang Jian's death. Dongfang Cha was also an elder of the family, so he naturally had to find out the cause of Dongfang Jian's death. Otherwise, if Dongfang Cha died one day, No one would avenge him. However, Dongfang Cha received an angry phone call from Dongfang Buruo as soon as he left the hotel. Dongfang Cha, are you trying to kill me? Dongfang Buruo yelled. Young Master Buruo, what's wrong? Dongfang Cha was confused. He didn't know why Dongfang Buruo was so angry. He asked carefully, why would I do that? What the hell happened? What happened? Where the fuck did you find them? Dongfang Buruo yelled. At the hotel. The waiter gave me a name card. I found them. Dongfang Cha said carefully. He didn't know how he had offended Dongfang Buruo. Was the quality of the women he found too low? That couldn't be. He looked at the photos on the card and picked the two prettiest ones. Why wasn't Dongfang Buruo satisfied? Is that so? There are mushrooms down there. Dongfang Buruo yelled, one with mushrooms and one with flowers. Luckily, my eyes are good. Otherwise, I'd be dead if I got AIDS. Hiss. Dongfang Cha was shocked. He didn't expect something like this to happen. It seemed like it was a sick lady in disguise. Dongfang Buruo was almost killed. Young Master Buruo, I don't know. You know that I asked them to go to their rooms after I found them. I could only see their faces. I couldn't take off their clothes to check. Dongfang Cha said with a bitter smile. Damn it, I told the two of them to scram. Dongfang Buruo said, this young master is very angry right now. Go and catch two purer ones for me. I want sex. I think with your eyesight, you should be able to tell, right? That's true, but... Young Master Bu, we're here to investigate the cause of Dongfang Jian's death. What if something goes wrong if we arrest someone randomly? Dongfang Cha was a little hesitant. He didn't want to cause trouble. Capturing Xu Shahan is also capturing. Can't we capture her? Dongfang Buruo snorted coldly. Dongfang Cha, if my father finds out that you gave me two sick girls, think about it yourself. Not weak, young master, don't be angry. I'll go find two stunning beauties for you right now. Dongfang Cha hurriedly said, but high-quality ones can't be found in a day. That's not a problem. I've already hooked up with two waiters from the hotel. They're not bad, but you have to find me a beautiful woman in a few days. Dongfang Buruo nodded. That's not a problem. Okay, no problem. Dongfang Cha breathed a sigh of relief. As long as he had enough time, he could slowly look for them. He didn't have to rush. Dongfang Cha originally wanted to go to the trade association, but he could only change his route and find a nearby school. If he wanted to find stunning beauties, he had to be careful. Dongfang Cha looked at the navigation map on his phone. The nearest university was Donghai Industry University. Dongfang Cha walked in the direction of Donghai Industry University. After entering the campus, Dongfang Cha didn't look left and right like an idiot. Instead, he saw a few silk-haired guys sitting under the basketball hoop and chatting. Brothers, chatting? Dongfang Cha quickly walked over and pretended to be chatting. Uncle, who are you? These students were obviously still vigilant. They were still on guard when a stranger suddenly came over to talk to them. Haha, I'm the person in charge of the National School Beauties program on XX website. I'm here to count the school beauties of Donghai Industry University. Dongfang Cha said calmly. Why should we believe you? The guy clearly didn't believe Dongfang Cha. Haha, who knows more? I'll pay for the clues. With that, Dongfang Cha took out a stack of cash from his pocket. There was about 3,000 to 4,000 yuan in it. The guy's eyes lit up. They rushed to say, I know, okay, then you guys can say it together. Everyone can top it up. This money is yours. Dongfang Cha said. These guys were also good buddies in the same dormitory, so it didn't matter who gave the money to. Since everyone was spending it together, everyone started talking at once. The three most popular school beauties in our school are Chu Mengyaro, Yu Shu, and Wang Xinyan. These three are the most popular school beauties in our school. One of the guys started talking. After those three is... Another guy was about to add, but Dongfang Cha cut him off. No need for that. We're choosing school beauties, not just anyone. The most beautiful ones from each school are enough. Dongfang Cha said. Now, tell me, what are these three school beauties? What are their majors? Do they have boyfriends? Dongfang Cha remembered Dongfang Buruo's name. She had to find out if they had boyfriends or not. If they did, then so be it. Meng Yaro and Yushu are economics majors. I don't think they have boyfriends. I don't know if they're close with any guy. One of the guys said. But those two are goddesses. One's super pretty, and the other has a great body. It's a perfect combination. Wang Xinyan's love life is a bit messy. She has a boyfriend at school, and I think she has a fiancé, but she's still living with her boyfriend. Another guy said. Chapter 3081. So, Dongfang Cha said, when we choose school beauties, we don't just need beauty, but also a good character. This Wang Xinyan doesn't study and only knows how to date. Forget it, let's talk about Meng Yaro and Yushu. Do you have any photos of them? Yes, we do. A guy quickly took out his phone and showed Yushu and Meng Yao's pictures to Dongfang Ti. Here they are. One's the goddess type, and the other has the face of an angel and the body of a devil. Dongfang Ti's eyes lit up when he saw Yushu and Meng Yao's picture. They were so pretty, even he was tempted. Dongfang Ti thought that if he could have some fun with Dongfang Buruo after he was done with them, it'd be a worthwhile trip. He wondered if young master Dongfang Buruo would let him have some fun with them. Dongfang Ti's heart itched at the thought, and he became a lot more enthusiastic. He'd been pissed at Dongfang Buruo for asking him to do this. He was here to do business, not to pimp Dongfang Buruo. But now, he was more than willing to do it. It'd be great if he could have sex with one of these girls, let alone two. Can you send it to me? Dongfang Ti asked. Of course. The guy sent it to Dongfang Ti. Dongfang Ti, on the other hand, gave the money to the guys after getting the pictures and information of Meng Yaro and Yushu, and started thinking about what to do next. Meng Yaro and Yushu were both from the economics faculty, which meant that they must be having classes in the economics faculty's building. As long as he waited nearby, he'd be able to catch them. With that in mind, Dongfang Ti went back to the hotel and got his car, but on the way there, he received a call from the young master of the house, Dongfang Jinxing. Young master. Dongfang Ti answered the phone respectfully. Dongfang Ti, you've arrived, right? I saw that you've arrived in Donghai, and you're driving to the Slave Trade Association? Dongfang Jinxing asked. Aye. Dongfang Cha paused. She wasn't going to the Slave Trade Association, she was going to East Ocean Industry University. However, it was impossible to lie to Dongfang Jinxing. Not to mention that Dongfang Cha did not dare to lie in front of Dongfang Jinxing. Even if she lied, Dongfang Jinxing had to believe her. Not only did the car have the Dongfang family's GPS, but it also had a recording and video system. How could he dare to speak carelessly? Therefore, Dongfang Jinxing hesitated for a moment and decided to tell the truth. After all, betraying Dongfang Buqiu was better than lying to Dongfang Jinxing. Young master, I'm going to East Ocean Industry University, Dongfang Cha said. East Ocean Industry University? Dongfang Jinxing paused and asked, Dongfang Cha, what are you doing there? Young master, it's like this. Dongfang Cha didn't dare to hide anything. She told Dongfang Jinxing about how Dongfang Buruo wanted to have some fun in East Ocean City, but he found two sick girls. Now, I'm going to catch them for young master Buruo, this little bastard. Dongfang Jinxing frowned, but he couldn't say anything. Dongfang Buruo was spoiled by Dongfang Badao. This time, he went to deal with Xu Shahan, and Dongfang Badao allowed it. What was the big deal about catching two? Therefore, although Dongfang Jinxing wasn't happy, he still said, okay, then be careful. Don't let anyone see it and leave any evidence. Although we are an ancient sect, there are still other ancient sects that restrict us. Don't worry, young master. The purpose of my driving here is to knock them out and put them in the car. When the time comes, no one will know. Who will find out? Dongfang Cha said. Okay, then after you finish these things, try to find time to investigate Dongfang Jian. If you go to the mortal world and don't even go to the Slave Trade Association, then it won't be right. Don't forget the reason why we enter the mortal world. Dongfang Jinxing said. I understand, young master, I will go tomorrow. Dongfang Cha said. Dongfang Jinxing didn't say anything else and directly hung up the phone. In his opinion, catching 2 students wasn't a big deal. In the ancient sects, the concept of human life was relatively weak. In their eyes, ordinary people were similar to ants. Only masters were important. Dongfang Cha drove the car directly to the economics department and waited for them to arrive. At this moment, it was not far from the end of the school. Time passed by, and finally, Dongfang Cha waited for the end of the class. From the economics department's teaching building, students began to come out in 2s and 3s. As a sky class, Dongfang Cha's spiritual sense was extremely strong. He didn't need to get close to the students to be able to clearly distinguish Meng Yaro and Yushu among the students who came out. At this moment, the 2 hadn't come out yet. However, after waiting for 10 minutes, Dongfang Cha found Meng Yaro and Yushu. However, Dongfang Cha didn't make a move immediately. Instead, he drove the car behind the 2. There were too many people here, and if Dongfang Cha made a move, the other students would block the car in front of him. Although he wasn't afraid of killing all these students, it would still be troublesome. So, Dongfang Cha waited until Meng Yaro and Yushu walked in the direction of the parking lot. Only when there was no one else on the road did he suddenly step on the gas pedal. The car sped up and stopped beside Meng Yaro and Yushu. He opened the door and jumped out in front of Meng Yaro and Yushu. After school, the other students either went back to their dorms or went to the cafeteria. Almost no one went to the parking lot. Only Meng Yaro and Yushu went to the parking lot every day when they went home, so there weren't many people on the road. The place that Dongfang Cha chose to make a move was a blind spot. Even if there were people far away, they wouldn't be able to see it. You. What are you doing? Meng Yaro looked at the person in front of her vigilantly. But Dongfang Cha wasn't an idiot. She didn't waste any time talking to Meng Yaro and Yushu. She grabbed the 2 girls by the collar and knocked them on the back of their necks, knocking them out cold. Chapter 3082. The Grand Elder brought the black-clothed elder with her this time. After leaving the Dark Palace, they headed straight for East Ocean City. After dozens of hours of travel, they finally arrived at East Ocean City. The 2 of them found a random hotel to stay in. The Grand Elder didn't stay idle and brought the black-clothed elder out of the hotel. She couldn't wait anymore. The inheritor was the future hope of the Dark Palace. The Grand Elder believed that it was better to be safe than sorry. The earlier she saw the inheritor, the earlier she could be at ease. What if something happened to her later? It had to be said that Yi Wan's matter had already made the Great Elder a little nervous. She was afraid that if she was a step late, something would happen that caught her off guard, so she didn't rest at the hotel at all. The good thing was that the Grand Elder and the black-clothed elder were both cultivators, so they weren't tired at all. This time, the Grand Elder and the black-clothed elder didn't drive. Instead, they sped through the city on foot. The Grand Elder had already sensed the aura of the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline. She couldn't wait to fly over. Following the aura of the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline, the Grand Elder chased after them. As they got closer and closer, the Grand Elder became more and more excited. When the Grand Elder and the black-clothed elder entered the campus of Donghai Industry University, they attracted the attention of all the students in the university, because these 2 people actually wore ancient clothes to school. Were they here to shoot a TV show? However, the Great Elder didn't care about these people's sidelong glances. She was here to find a successor, and other things didn't matter to her. The Great Elder lived for the sect, not for her own face. Almost there, almost there. The Grand Elder was very excited. However, just as the Grand Elder saw the inheritor of her dreams, she saw a man driving a white SUV knock out the inheritor and another girl, then drag them into the car together. The Grand Elder immediately flew into a rage, and a wave of anger couldn't help but surge up from his ribs. This is this old woman's inheritor. Who the fuck are you? How dare you take the inheritor away? What do you want to do? After catching Meng Yaro and Yushu, Dongfang Cha called Dongfang Buruo as she drove. What's wrong, Dongfang Cha? What's up? Dongfang Buruo had just finished pleasuring the two waitresses and was resting when he received a call from Dongfang Cha. Young Master Buo, I've caught 2 campus bells according to your instructions. They are the 2 most beautiful campus bells in East Ocean Industry University. I'll bring them back for you to enjoy. Since Dongfang Jinxing had acquiesced, he naturally dared to make a phone call in the car. Otherwise, if the recording and video in the car were to be sent back, he would be in serious trouble. But now it didn't matter. Oh, already done? That's great. I'm done here. You can bring them back. I'll have dinner and enjoy myself again, Dongfang Buweek said happily after hearing Dongfang Cha's words. Okay, young Master Buweek. Dongfang Cha couldn't help but continue, young Master Buweek, when you're done, can you let me have a good time as well? Sure, no problem. Dongfang Buweek readily agreed. If you want your subordinates to do things for you, you can't just give them some benefits, right? This time, Dongfang Cha had tasted the sweetness. Next time, he would be more proactive in helping him find beautiful women. Okay, I'll go back right now. Huh. Just as Dongfang Cha hung up the phone, he stepped on the brakes. He suddenly realized that there was an old woman standing in front of his car. Old woman, are you fucking courting death? Why are you standing in front of the car? Get out of here. Dongfang Cha scolded angrily. If it weren't for the fact that he was a heaven stage master and had quick reflexes, he would have been killed. Although Dongfang Cha was not afraid of killing people, it would be troublesome if she did. After all, there was a man in black who was not standing in front of the car. The 2 campus bells in the car might be discovered, and his plan would be ruined. Therefore, Dongfang Cha was very angry. Dongfang Cha was angry, and the Grand Elder was even more angry. He was so angry that he laughed. What did you say? You said I'm an old woman? You old thing, don't think that you're a star just because you're wearing a costume. Stop wasting time and get out of here, or I'll kill you. When Dongfang Cha saw the Supreme Elder and the black-clothed Elder's attire, she didn't think too much of it. She thought they were actors from some drama troupe or TV series. After all, ancient families were different from ancient sects. Most ancient families had accepted modern clothing, but ancient sects still retained their traditions. Moreover, Dongfang Cha didn't expect the Grand Elder of the Dark Palace, who was also from the ancient world, to appear here. This was unrealistic. Originally, when the Grand Elder heard Dongfang Cha's call in the car, he was already furious. You want to have fun? How could the Grand Elder not understand Dongfang Cha's intentions? He wanted to push down the 2 girls in the car, but one of them was the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline chosen by the Dark Palace. If he lost his virginity, wouldn't the Grand Elder go crazy? This had almost pushed the Palace of Darkness into the abyss. How could the Great Elder not be angry? Therefore, the Supreme Elder's killing intent had already been aroused in her heart. She nodded and said, very good, very good. Not only did you dare to kidnap someone that I value, you even dared to call me an old woman and an old thing. Today, I'll kill you first. Dongfang Cha frowned. He didn't want to argue with the Grand Elder, but this old woman was blocking his way. What could he do? Since he couldn't kill her, he could only get out of the car, throw them aside, and quickly drive away. Old thing, you're asking for it. As she spoke, Dongfang Cha reached out to grab the Great Supreme Elder. She was about to grab her and throw her out. But when Dongfang Cha grabbed the Grand Elder's arm, she felt her whole body shake. How could she miss? Was she a master? When the Supreme Elder was caught, although he was annoyed, he naturally used his internal cultivation method to resist. Chapter 3083. Bang! Dongfang Cha was sent flying backward. A peak late-stage heaven-ranked master was not someone a low-stage heaven-ranked master like him could fight against. However, as she was flying backward, Dongfang Cha hurriedly activated her mental cultivation method and used her vital qi to protect her body. Only then did she not die from the blow. When Dongfang Cha showed his early-stage heaven-ranked strength, the Grand Elder was also stunned. This person was also a heaven-ranked master, and an early-stage heaven-ranked one at that. This person wasn't Lin Yi, was he? Could it be that Lin Yi kidnapped the two girls in the car and was planning to do something bad to them? According to the phone call, it seemed that they were sold to someone, and that person ate the meat while Lin Yi drank the soup. The Grand Elder couldn't be blamed for the misunderstanding. After all, there were very few cultivators in the mortal world. They couldn't even see a mystic class master, let alone a heaven class master. Even golden class masters were extremely rare. Therefore, the Grand Elder naturally thought that the person in front of him was Lin Yi when there was a cultivator who had the same level of strength as Lin Yi in East Ocean City. Die. The Grand Elder had already wanted to kill this person. Now that he thought that this person was Lin Yi, the Grand Elder was even more determined to kill him. The Grand Elder directly took out her heaven-grade godly weapon and threw out a piece of red ridge that was shining with golden light. Don't kill me, I'm Dongfang. Dongfang Cha was really scared. His opponent was a peak late-stage heaven-ranked master, and he was no match for him. Therefore, Dongfang Cha began to show his background. He believed that as long as he showed his background, his opponent would let him go since they were both people from the ancient times. At most, the Dongfang family would sacrifice some benefits to make amend. However, before he could finish his sentence, the Grand Supreme Elder's red caltrop smashed into Dongfang Cha's chest with a loud bang. Dongfang Cha's chest caved in and he died with his eyes wide open before he could finish his sentence. Dongfang? What Dongfang? After killing Dongfang Cha, the highest elder realized that something was wrong. Things did not seem to be what she had imagined. This person did not seem to be Lin Yi. Hey Yi, is this person Lin Yi? The Grand Elder frowned and turned to ask Hey Yi. No, it's not Lin Yi. The black-clothed elder shook his head. Check his body and see if there's any keepsake on him. The Supreme Elder also felt that something was wrong. Dongfang, could it be someone from the ancient Dongfang family? The black-clothed elder nodded and quickly searched Dongfang Cha's body. However, he did not find any useful clues. So, he got into Dongfang Cha's car and began to search it. Not long after, the black-clothed elder got out of the car and handed over a tapping device, a surveillance camera, a GPS system, and a mobile phone to the Supreme Elder. Then, he said, Supreme Elder, these are all the suspicious items in the car. The tapping device and the surveillance camera were all transmitted through the 3G network. This caused the highest elder's expression to change slightly. It seemed that the scene of him killing Dongfang Cha had already been transmitted. Thinking of this, the highest elder angrily crushed the tapping device and the surveillance camera. As for the GPS system, it was no longer important. Whether it was destroyed or not, Dongfang Cha's family would already know his location. After opening Dongfang Cha's mobile phone, the elder immediately saw the contact names of the Dongfang family's old master, Dongfang Young Master, and Young Master Buwo. She immediately knew that her guess was correct. This person was indeed from the ancient Dongfang family. Throw this person's body into the trunk of the car. Don't let anyone find it. The highest elder instructed the black-clothed elder. Although no one had passed by for the time being, she was not sure if anyone would pass by later. Yes. The black-clothed elder nodded and quickly lifted Dongfang Cha's body from the ground and threw it into the trunk of the off-road vehicle. After watching the black-clothed elder do all this, the highest elder said, "It seems that this person is from the Dongfang family. The scene of me killing him should have been transmitted back to his family. However, this matter is not our fault. Black-clothed, immediately send a message to the Palace of Darkness. Tell them that the Dongfang family kidnapped the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline of the Palace of Darkness with ill intentions. That's why I killed him." "Yes, Supreme Elder." The black-clothed elder nodded. He also knew that killing someone from the Dongfang family was not a small matter. After all, the Dongfang family was more powerful than the Palace of Darkness. However, if the Palace of Darkness had a reason for doing this, then it would be a different story. The inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline of the Palace of Darkness was a huge matter to the entire ancient world. If the Dongfang family kidnapped her, then it would not only affect the interests of the Palace of Darkness, but also the interests of the entire ancient world and the Five Elements sect. As long as the news got out, the highest elder believed that no matter how powerful the Dongfang family was, they could only swallow their anger. After all, they could not go against the entire ancient world. After receiving the order, the black-clothed elder went to contact the Palace of Darkness. He also knew the seriousness of the matter. Although the highest elder killed Dongfang Cha because she wanted to harm the inheritor of the Palace of Darkness, no one knew about it. So the Palace of Darkness had to spread the news first. Once the other ancient sects knew about it, then the Palace of Darkness would be fine. After all, the matter of the Palace of Darkness finding an inheritor was something that would benefit the entire ancient world. Among the ancient sects, which one of the peak late phase heaven class masters didn't want to ascend to the heavenly Tao? Your Dongfang clan is powerful, but you can't just take the heir of the Dark Palace and fuck her. If you really fucked her, forget about killing you, I'll even wipe out your entire Dongfang clan. So, as long as the news got out, no one would say anything wrong about the Palace of Darkness. They would all say that Dongfang Cha brought this upon herself. This was also what the highest elder wanted to achieve. Alright, highest elder, I think it won't be long before the entire ancient world finds out that the inheritor of the Palace of Darkness was almost raped by Dongfang Cha of the Dongfang family. In order to protect the inheritor, the highest elder killed Dongfang Cha. The black-clothed elder did not distort the truth. Because there was a video and audio transmission system in the car. Although it was destroyed by the highest elder, the audio and video could still be transmitted to the Dongfang family. Chapter 3084. Well done. The Great Elder nodded and walked quickly to the white off-road vehicle. She wanted to see how the inheritor she had been yearning for day and night was doing. However, before the Great Elder could reach the off-road vehicle, she saw a travel-worn person running towards her. The Grand Elder didn't know who this person was, but the black-clothed elder's face changed when he saw this person. It was Lin Yi. Yushu's phone had an alarm software installed. Once she was in danger, she would use the shortcut key to activate the software, and the software would automatically send a warning signal, sending the phone's current location along with the warning signal to the designated phone number. This was also a measure Yushu had researched for safety. So when Lin Yi received the news, he went straight to the school without even driving. It wasn't far anyways, and Lin Yi would be faster if he ran over. Seeing Lin Yi flying over, the Grand Elder was confused. Why did another come after killing one? This person in front of him obviously didn't come with good intentions. The Grand Elder could even feel that this person's target was the car in front of him. Who's there? The Grand Elder yelled and revealed his Sky-class late-phase peak strength. With the impulse from before, the Grand Elder didn't dare to kill people casually anymore. It would be troublesome if he killed too many people. Plus, this person didn't kidnap Mengyaro and Yushu, he just rushed over. The Grand Elder revealed his strength so that he could retreat. The Grand Elder's strength made Lin Yi's face change slightly. He didn't expect the Grand Elder to be a Sky-class late-phase peak master. Looking at the Grand Elder's side, it was the black-clothed elder. Lin Yi knew this person. He was from the Dark Palace, Zhao Qibing's master. This discovery made Lin Yi go on high alert. A Sky-class late-phase peak master actually came to the common world. What were they trying to do? They were actually targeting Mengyaro and Yushu? Because Lin Yi didn't see Dongfang Cha, he subconsciously thought that the two elders were here for Mengyaro and Yushu. So, even if they are strong, Lin Yi has to face them. What did you do to Yaro and Shu? Since when did the Palace of Darkness become so shameless, capturing people from the common world? Yaro, Xiao Shu. Grand Elder was stunned. What Yaro and Xiao Shu? Who captured Yaro and Xiao Shu? You know me. You know the Palace of Darkness? Grand Elder, this person is Lin Yi. The Elder in black said quickly. As for Yaro and Shu, could it be Mengyaro and Yushu? The two in the car were Mengyaro and Yushu? How was this possible? One of them was the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline? Lin Yi. The Grand Elder frowned, not expecting to meet Lin Yi here. She'd worn out iron shoes in fruitless searching, only to find him by chance. She was just about to kill Lin Yi when Lin Yi came to her on his own, saving her a lot of effort, but something wasn't right. The Grand Elder suddenly remembered that Lin Yi was here for the two girls in the car. Could it be that Lin Yi knew them? Yao Yao? Shu? Could it be? Yao Yao was Meng Yao? The Grand Elder guessed what the Elder in Black guessed as well. She wasn't stupid, either. Who else would be close to Lin Yi other than Yao Yao? And so, the Grand Elder wanted to kill Lin Yi, but decided against it after some thought. If Yao Yao really was Meng Yao, wouldn't she be the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline she was looking for? It wouldn't be good for her to kill Lin Yi then, since Meng Yao and Lin Yi had a special relationship. If she killed Lin Yi now, would Meng Yao retaliate? But even so, the Grand Elder didn't think much of Lin Yi. After all, Yi-Wn's cowardly personality made the Grand Elder feel that even inheritors had to listen to her. If she wanted to kill Lin Yi, Meng Yao wouldn't dare say a word. But the Grand Elder was a little puzzled. How did Meng Yao become the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline? When Meng Yao was born, the Grand Elder had checked. The Dark Phoenix bloodline in Meng Yao's body was pitiful, and it was impossible for her to accept the inheritance. It wasn't pure either, but what she felt now was an extremely pure Dark Phoenix bloodline, even purer than Yi-Wn's. An inheritor of this bloodline would be able to accept the inheritance once they returned to the Palace of Darkness. As a result, the Grand Elder wasn't sure if it was Meng Yao. Could it be the girl beside Meng Yao? After all, the Grand Elder saw Dongfang Xiache knock the two girls out and put them in the car, but she couldn't see who was in the car because she was too far away. She didn't want to waste time with Lin Yi anymore. She waved her hand. It wasn't me who attacked them, I saved them. If you don't believe me, look at the trunk. Oh! Lin Yi paused for a moment, but then he smelled the scent of blood and saw a pool of blood not far from him. But Lin Yi was even more puzzled. Didn't the Palace of Darkness have a grudge against him? Why did they help Meng Yao and Yu Shu? Could it be that they didn't know and were just helping out? But, as far as Lin Yi knew, the people of the Dark Palace were all arrogant bullies. How could they be chivalrous? If Lin Yi hadn't seen the corpse in the trunk, he wouldn't have believed the Grand Elder's word. But, the person in the car had clearly died not too long ago. As a doctor, Lin Yi could easily tell that this wasn't some random corpse that the Grand Elder had pulled out and made up. Who is this? Lin Yi pointed at the corpse in the trunk. Ancient Dongfang clan, Dongfang Cha. You don't need to ask about this, it won't do you any good. The Great Elder said proudly as if it was a glorious thing to kill an elder of the ancient era. Someone from the Dongfang clan? Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. This Dongfang clan couldn't be that unlucky, could they? One died in the Heavenly Elixir Sect's trial, one was killed by him in the Cultivator Trade Association, and now another was killed by the Grand Elder of the Palace of Darkness. How unlucky. Chapter 3085. Why would people from the ancient Dongfang house appear in Donghai Industry University's campus? Could it be that the Dongfang house knew that he was the one who killed Dongfang Jian, and so they sent another elder to capture Meng Yao and Yu Shu, to avenge Dongfang Jian's death? But, as logical as it seemed, it didn't make any sense at all. Even if it was the Dongfang house, why didn't they just come after him? Wasn't it pointless to go after Meng Yao and Yu Shu? Nothing, I think they're going to give them to someone. The Great Elder snorted and said, if I hadn't seen it, I reckon that both of them would have lost their virginity. Oh! Lin Yi paused. If that was the case, then the Dongfang house probably wasn't after him. What happened today was probably random. The person in the car is Meng Yao? The Grand Elder asked coldly, having guessed what Lin Yi was up to. What do you want? Lin Yi didn't answer the question. The Grand Elder looked at Lin Yi before opening the car door to see Meng Yao and Yu Shu in the backseat. The Grand Elder recognized the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix's bloodline right away, and quickly carried Meng Yao out of the car before turning to Lin Yi. I'll be taking this person with me. I'm bringing her back to the Palace of Darkness for training. You're taking her away? Lin Yi frowned. What right do you have to take her away? She's the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline of the Dark Palace, the one I've been looking for. Naturally, I'm taking her away so that she can accept the inheritance and become a master. The Grand Elder turned to Lin Yi. Is she Meng Yao or Yu Shu? Grand Elder, she's Meng Yao. Lin Yi didn't say anything, but the black-clothed elder spoke up first, his face full of shock. Thank goodness he didn't hurt Meng Yaro the last time he came looking for trouble with Lin Yi. She was the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline. After all, even if he had 10 heads, it wouldn't be enough for the Grand Elder to chop them off. Thinking of this, he broke out in a cold sweat. Meng Yao? Sure enough. The Grand Elder was also very surprised, but he didn't show it on the surface, but a storm was set off in his heart. Luckily, he came here personally and didn't let Zhao Qibing bring his men to kill Meng Yao. If he did, she'd regret it forever. Supreme Elder? You're the Grand Elder of the Dark Palace? Lin Yi looked at the Sky-class late-phase peak master in front of him, his mind racing. It seemed like she was here on behalf of the Dark Palace to find an inheritor, but when she saw him, she wanted to teach him a lesson or kill him, but stopped when she heard Meng Yao's name. That's right, Lin Yi, young one, since I've found an inheritor, and the inheritor is Meng Yao, I'll let you go this time, but if I see you again, I won't go easy on you. The Grand Elder had already killed a Sky-class early phase master today, and didn't want to kill anyone else, so she let Lin Yi go for now. Lin Yi paused, looking at the Grand Elder strangely. This Grand Elder didn't seem to see the situation clearly, did she? Normally, ancient sects would ask for inheritors to train with them, but she wanted to take Meng Yaro to the Dark Palace and kill him at the same time. Even someone as strong as Bingtang didn't dare to say that she wanted to kill Lin Yi. Did this Grand Elder not see the reality? With that thought, Lin Yi couldn't help but ask, I say, Grand Elder, are you so sure that Meng Yaro will go with you? She won't go with me. Why won't she go with me? I can make her a supreme master, the dream of so many people, wanting to be a disciple of our Dark Palace, and she'll be the master of our Dark Palace. The Grand Elder said matter-of-factly, besides, look at Zhao Qibing, he's so happy and excited after joining our Dark Palace. Ahem. Lin Yi was speechless. This Grand Elder was too narcissistic, wasn't she? Did she think that everyone wanted to join the Dark Palace? Lin Yi curled his lips and snorted, why don't you wake her up and ask her if she's willing to go with you? Of course. That's for sure. The Grand Elder said confidently as she massaged the acupoints on Meng Yao's neck and turned to Lin Yi, I'll let you see if she's willing to go with me now. Meng Yaro slowly woke up, but when she woke up, she didn't expect to be in the arms of an old woman. She subconsciously took 2 steps back and looked at the old woman in fear. You. Who are you? I'm the Grand Elder of the Dark Palace. Meng Yao, I have great news for you. You've been chosen as the inheritor of our Dark Palace, and after you join us, you'll be the master of our Dark Palace. The Grand Elder said, how is it? Happy, right? Excited? Dark Palace? Meng Yaro was on high alert. One had to know that this was Lin Yi's sect, and the people in the Dark Palace didn't seem to be kind, wanting to kill Lin Yi for no reason. So, Meng Yaro was very against it. You. Stay away from me, I won't join the Dark Palace, and I don't want to be the master of the Dark Palace, and I don't want to be the inheritor. From Meng Yao's point of view, the master of the Dark Palace, inheritor, as long as it was a part of the Dark Palace, it wasn't realistic. There must be some kind of conspiracy behind all this. What? You? The Grand Elder's eyes widened, not expecting Meng Yaro to reject her. As far as she was concerned, there was no reason for that. Everyone was crying and begging to join the Dark Palace, an ancient sect. Plus, Meng Yaro would be the palace master as soon as she joined. How glorious was that? But Meng Yaro rejected it. How was that possible? The Grand Elder's face was very ugly. Meng Yao, you need to think this through, don't you want to be a master? That's a master of the world. If you accept the inheritance, it won't be a dream for you to have strength like mine. It seems like you know about practitioners, but do you know that I'm a Sky-class late-phase peak? Chapter 3086. So, no matter how good the conditions of the Dark Palace were, Meng Yaro wouldn't join them so easily. Ah, Lin Yi, you're here. Meng Yaro noticed Lin Yi and said happily, Lin Yi, these people are from the Dark Palace. Although they didn't capture me and Shu, they're not good people either. Let's go, ignore them. Meng Yaro, on the other hand, understood what the Grand Elder was saying. The inheritor would have the strength of a Sky-class late-phase peak. To be honest, Meng Yaro was tempted, but the Dark Palace was Lin Yi's enemy. Without Lin Yi's approval, Meng Yaro would never join them. Meng Yarrow was gaining strength for Lin Yi's sake. She didn't want the gap between her and Lin Yi to be too big. She didn't want to bring trouble to Lin Yi when Lin Yi went out. So, how could Meng Yarrow make Lin Yi unhappy just because she gained strength? So Meng Yarrow purposely said that after one look. From her point of view, the Grand Elder had a favor to ask of her, so she wouldn't make a move. You dare reject me? The Grand Elder looked at Meng Yarrow in disbelief, as if he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. Impossible. Did he hear it wrong? Lin Yi, Yushu's still in the car. Let's go back. Meng Yarrow ignored the Grand Elder and said, You. The Grand Elder was furious. She looked at Meng Yarrow and said darkly, If you dare leave, fine, I'll kill Lin Yi. If you kill Lin Yi, I'll never go with you to the Dark Palace. Even if you capture me, I don't know the arts. I'll make you regret it for the rest of your life. Meng Yarrow knew how to threaten as well. It wasn't that she didn't want to go to the Palace of Darkness at all, but if she wanted to go, she needed to have enough bargaining chip. You. The Grand Elder didn't expect Meng Yarrow to say that. Yi Wnr's submissive attitude made her think that the heir of the Dark Palace would listen to her and do whatever she said, but Meng Yarrow had completely overturned her impression of her. The Grand Elder wanted to call Meng Yarrow a little bitch, but she swallowed her words back. She didn't dare offend Meng Yarrow now. Looking at the determined look on Meng Yao's face, it seemed like she would really do it. If what Meng Yarrow said was true, then the Grand Elder wouldn't dare curse at them anymore. What about me? You're the one begging me, do you understand the situation? The Miss looked at the Great Elder and said coldly, Who cares about your Dark Knight Palace? What kind of attitude was that? Lin Yi, let's go. Ignore this old lady. All right. Lin Yi nodded and carried Shu out of the car, only to realize that Shu had woken up on her own. This girl didn't make a sound in the car, so she was eavesdropping. Shu, you woke up and didn't get out of the car. You made us worry. Oh, shield bro, Shu thinks that this old lady is too annoying. She's asking for help and yet she's acting so arrogant. Is she stupid? Yushu looked at the Grand Elder and said with disdain. You. What did you call me? Old lady. Old lady. The Grand Elder's chest heaved up and down as she breathed heavily. She was clearly pissed. After all, the Grand Elder had never been bullied like this before. As far as she was concerned, Yi Wnr should be obedient, but when it came to Meng Yarrow, why wasn't she obedient? Not only was she not obedient, she even dared to talk back and threaten her. The Grand Elder was called an old lady twice today. The first time, she killed the person who called her an old lady. The second time, she didn't dare do it again. Meng Yao's words were very clear. She didn't care about the Dark Palace in the first place. If you want to use force, then fine. Even if you bring her back, she won't listen to you. Let's see what you can do. But Meng Yarrow and Yushu didn't care at all as they turned to leave with Lin Yi. The Supreme Elder finally became anxious and shouted, Wait a minute. Is there anything else? Lin Yi found it funny. This Grand Elder really thought too highly of himself. Now look at him, wasn't he? She'd offended Meng Yarrow, and the Miss was very vengeful. Meng Yao, how can you join our Dark Palace? The Grand Elder felt a deep sense of defeat. Fortunately, she was shameless. Face and the like were all floating clouds to her. Since the hard way didn't work, she'd use the soft way. As long as it was beneficial to the Dark Palace, she'd lower herself to do it. I'll think about it, but I don't want to go now, Meng Yarrow said without turning back. Dark Palace? Meng Yarrow wanted to gain strength, but she wouldn't do anything rash. The Grand Elder's words today had too much of an impact on her. She needed to go back and digest it. Okay. The Grand Elder wasn't willing, but he still nodded in agreement. He had no choice. Meng Yarrow and Yi Wnr were completely different. Yi Wnr was submissive, while Meng Yarrow was resistant. The Grand Elder had to change his view of things. Elder Black, what do you think we should do now? The Grand Elder's face was extremely ugly as she watched Meng Yarrow, Yushu, and Lin Yi leave. According to her usual personality, she would have taken Meng Yarrow away, but now, she was afraid that it would be useless. Meng Yao's tone was very resolute, and it was clear that she couldn't do anything about it if she didn't want to. Although the Grand Elder could torture Meng Yarrow, she didn't dare gamble. What if Meng Yarrow couldn't handle the torture and died? Wouldn't the Dark Palace be done for then? One had to know that Meng Yarrow was the Dark Palace's last hope. If something were to happen to her, then the Dark Palace's name would be erased from the ancient world. This Meng Yarrow doesn't budge, she's completely different from Yi Weina. The black-clothed elder frowned as well. You're marked by the company you keep, you're just like Lin Yi. I'm not talking about that, I'm asking you what to do. The Grand Elder hemphed coldly. I know you're talking nonsense, but I want to know how Meng Yarrow can come back with us. Chapter 3087. Yes, you're right. How about this? Let's go back to the hotel first and see how we can get Meng Yarrow to give in. The Grand Elder nodded. That was how she was. She'd give in if someone tried to be tough. She wanted Meng Yarrow to go to the Palace of Darkness, and if she couldn't use force, she'd have to be soft. As a result, Yi Weina had been too soft all this time. Although she'd failed in the end, if she'd told the Grand Elder that she wouldn't train if he didn't let her see Meng Yarrow and Pengzhan, or if he didn't send people to protect Meng Yarrow, she wouldn't train either. That way, the Grand Elder would have to do as she said in order to let her train peacefully. But Yi Weina never thought about threatening the Grand Elder, and that was why the Grand Elder was so arrogant. But now, the mother couldn't threaten the Grand Elder, and the daughter, the powerless Meng Yarrow, was the one threatening the Grand Elder. One had to say, this was quite the reverse. The car was driven away by the black-clothed elder. After all, there was still a dead person in the car. This was the common world, and they had to deal with it. Although the Grand Elder had killed the person, the body still had to be taken back by House Dongfang. They weren't in the right, but the person was dead, and they had to give them some face. This was an ancient rule, after all. If you killed someone, the body had to be returned. Lin Yi, Meng Yarrow, and Yu Shu were on the way back. Meng Yarrow had a frown on her face the whole time, thinking about the Palace of Darkness. Shu, on the other hand, didn't seem to mind at all. She giggled, Yarrow, you're going to become an inheritor. That's amazing. You'll be able to help shield bro, Shu. You seem happy that I'm leaving. Meng Yarrow didn't know if she should laugh or cry at Yu Shu's words. She glared at her. Do you know that you'll have no one to accompany you if I leave? Oh. It's better if you leave first than me. Yu Shu mumbled softly. What are you talking about? Meng Yarrow didn't hear it clearly, and assumed that Yu Shu was complaining about what she'd said. I know I'll get stronger after I leave, but haven't you ever thought about it? If I leave, won't I be the same as Xiao Xiao? I want to see you guys again. It's so difficult. Yeah, if there's a choice, who would want to leave? But looks like that old woman wants Yarrow to go no matter what. Yu Shu said as she looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi, naturally, knew what Yu Shu was talking about. Yu Shu was an inheritor herself, but Yarrow didn't know that one day, she would leave the villa. Saying goodbye to herself, saying goodbye to Yarrow, starting her new life. But Yu Shu was afraid that Meng Yarrow would be sad if she knew. That was why she hadn't told Yu Shu. But if Meng Yarrow left first, then Yu Shu's heart would. Moreover, they were both legatees, so they could take care of each other. Let's go back. Let's talk about it. Meng Yarrow said, a little lost. Things had developed too abruptly, and she didn't know what to do. Lin Yi nodded. Although the Dark Palace and Lin Yi had some conflicts, Lin Yi knew that an ancient sect wouldn't give up after finding an inheritor. If he didn't agree, then Meng Yarrow would be in a lot of trouble in the future. In the beginning, these ancient sects might be patient enough to invite you, beg you, but later on, if you still didn't know what's good for you, then they might threaten you. To tell the truth, Lin Yi had been living with the miss for a long time now. It was 3 months away from a year. Time flew by, and if the miss were to leave suddenly, Lin Yi's heart would feel empty. He wouldn't be used to it. The three had their own thoughts as they walked to the school's parking lot. Lin Yi got in the car, and Meng Yarrow and Yu Shu followed. Han Xiaochao was a little surprised why Lin Yi came to school today. In the past, Meng Yarrow or Wu Chentian would come to pick them up, and Lin Yi rarely came to school himself. Even a bookworm like Han Xiaochao felt that the atmosphere wasn't right after getting in the car, but he didn't know what was going on. Xiao Chao, how's your sister? Lin Yi hadn't seen Han Jingjing in a long time. She only appeared once when he was injured, and she hadn't shown up for a long time after that. It made him miss her quite a bit. She's fine. Her door is closed, and she doesn't talk to me, but she's probably researching something, right? Han Xiaochao said after some thought. Lin Yi nodded. When is your sister coming out? Tell her, we miss her a lot. Tell her to come to my villa for a while. Meng Yaro and Han Jingjing had a good relationship, and Meng Yaro had to say goodbye to Han Jingjing when she was leaving. Although they hadn't discussed it yet, in Lin Yi's heart, he was sure that Meng Yaro would leave, and it was only a matter of time. Okay. Han Xiaochao nodded, indicating that he understood. Then, he started reading in the car. This bookworm, it was only a few minutes' drive from school to home, and he still wanted to read. He was going crazy. Soon, the car returned to the villa. Han Xiaochao went back to his home, and Lin Yi, Meng Yaro, and Yu Shu went back to the villa. Lin Yi, Yao Yao, Shu, you're back. Shu Shahan had been staying in the villa for the past 2 days, and she didn't dare to go out casually. At least, before the problem was solved, she didn't dare to go out easily. Ian, I'm back. Han, don't you have work today? Lin Yi was a bit surprised. Shu Shahan was really free now, staying at home every day as if she had nothing to do. I wanted to ask you to go buy something with me, but you seem to be busy every day, so I didn't want to disturb you. Shu Shahan saw that although Lin Yi was at home, she didn't know what he was doing in his room, so she didn't want to disturb him. Chapter 3088. There was also the Fushi needles. Although Lin Yi was familiar with it now, its power was still a bit lacking. It could be said that even with this divine weapon in hand, it wasn't as powerful as the raging fire Bagua palm. Divine weapons weren't as powerful as martial arts techniques. This was impossible for other sky-class masters, but it was true for Lin Yi. This was because the Fushi needles couldn't be used beyond one's level. When Lin Yi was at the early phase of sky class, he naturally couldn't unleash the power of the needles at the mid-phase of sky class, but the raging fire Bagua palm was no problem. So, to Lin Yi, the Fushi needles were a bit useless. Unless Lin Yi could find a way to use it beyond his level, the needles could only be used against sky-class early-phase masters. It was also because of this that Lin Yi was looking forward to forging a sky-class weapon even more, and so he practiced the forging fire non-stop every day, neglecting Shahan. Shu Shahan didn't go to Lin Yi, so Lin Yi didn't take the initiative to ask. In the end, Shu Shahan didn't want to disturb him. How about, I go with you tomorrow? Lin Yi smiled bitterly, feeling a bit embarrassed. No need, it's fine. I already told Wang Sis to buy the things. Shu Shahan smiled. If there's nothing important, I'll tell Wang Sis to bring the work to the villa. Just don't feel annoyed. I'll be practicing my singing at home these few days. Of course not. That's good. Yaro Yaro and Shu will be the first audience for your new song. Lin Yi smiled. If it was any other day, Meng Yaro would be very happy. Her idol was singing a new song in her house. How exciting was it to be the first fan to hear Shu Shahan's new song? But now, Meng Yao's mind was filled with the Palace of Darkness. Go. Or not go. Meng Yaro couldn't decide. Yaro Yao, Shu, you guys seem to have something on your mind. Shu Shahan could tell that Meng Yaro and Yu Shu were in low spirits today. He didn't say much. Is it because I'm in the villa that I'm affecting your daily life? That's not it. Meng Yaro shook her head. Sister Shahan, actually, it's okay to tell you about this. Today, an ancient sect found me and asked me to be the heir and palace master of the sect, but I don't know if I can go. Shahan paused. She knew about Xiaoxiao's situation, although it was not very detailed. But he also understood. Becoming an inheritor meant that he had to stay in someone else's sect. He wouldn't be able to see Lin Yi and Yu Shu so often. However, Shu Shahan was surprised. Xiao Xiao was the inheritor, and Tang Yun was the inheritor. Meng Yaro too? How many inheritors were there in total? Why did they all gather around Lin Yi? Was this a coincidence, or was it God's will? Actually, what Shahan didn't know was that all of this had been predicted by someone 10 years ago. Lin Yi's mission back then had a deeper meaning, But Lin Yi didn't know about it. Ah! Shahan was stunned, but it was difficult for her to give any advice on this kind of thing. After all, she didn't understand these things. She only knew about practitioners from Lin Yi. Although Shahan was the illegitimate daughter of an ancient sect, she had never come into contact with these things. Yao Yao, I really can't help you with this kind of thing. I can't give you any advice, but what did Lin Yi say? Yao Yao, don't blame me for telling you the truth. The matter of ancient sects looking for inheritors is led by Shen Chen, ancestor of Five Elements sect. Not to mention me, even teacher Bai can't stop it. Once an ancient sect finds an inheritor who agrees with their own sect, it's like a wolf seeing a lamb, or even worse. So, I'm afraid it's impossible to refuse this matter. Lin Yi said, in my opinion, whether to go or not is just a matter of time and benefit. The Dark Palace, if they can give Yao Yao enough benefits, then there's no harm in going. If not, to be honest, I really can't do anything to a peak late phase heaven class master. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. The opponents were getting stronger and stronger. Although Lin Yi was also a heaven class master, the gap between them was still huge. Especially after reaching heaven class, the advantage of Lin Yi's raging fire Bagua palm was not as obvious. Because of the lack of pure qi, even if Lin Yi had the power, he couldn't use it. So Lin Yi desired the third stage of the art of dragon mastery. It could recover his strength faster, and he longed for a heaven-class weapon. As a result, Lin Yi forgot to eat and sleep every day. Naturally, he couldn't care about Shu Shahan. But when he remembered that Lin Yi was Shu Shahan's bodyguard, Lin Yi couldn't stop blushing. He really wasn't a good bodyguard. I know. Meng Yaro nodded and sighed. Lin Yi, actually, even if you don't say it, I understand. The Grand Elder, a peak late phase heaven class master, has already come out. I have to go with her. Today, I was able to put on an act with her because she's desperate for talent. But if I really make her lose her patience, the consequences will be severe. Of course, with the Grand Elder's personality, it wasn't strange for her to do things like threaten and bribe. From how Lin Yi saw it, the people from the Dark Palace were all shameless. There was a problem during the Heaven Elixir sect's trial, and they still wanted to settle it after the fact. Then what you're saying is? Lin Yi asked. I actually don't want to go, but when I think about how I can become stronger after I leave, and how I won't be a burden to you every time you go out, I want to go again. Meng Yaro sighed softly. The miss had revealed her heart for the first time. But, I don't know what my fate will be after I go. Will I be like Xiao Xiao, going to do something dangerous? That. Maybe. Lin Yi nodded after some thought. He didn't want to lie to the miss. After all, logically speaking, as long as Xiao Xiao was doing something dangerous, it was the same for Xiao Xiao, it was the same for Yushu, it was the same for Meng Yao. That was why Lin Yi said that. Chapter 3089. So you've decided to go? Lin Yi said after a sigh. Yeah. Meng Yao nodded. But I can't agree too quickly otherwise. I'll be like Xiao Xiao with no freedom when I go to the Palace of Darkness. I need to be able to come back and see you guys more often. Haha, of course you'll have to tell them that. Lin Yi nodded. Meng Yao going to the Dark Palace was different from Xiao Xiao. She didn't have a goal, unlike Xiao Xiao who wanted to live. Meng Yao should have more freedom than Xiao Xiao. Meng Yao had decided to leave, but the atmosphere in the villa didn't lighten up. Everyone was still in a gloomy mood, and Meng Yao didn't have much of an appetite during dinner. She only ate 2 mouthfuls before putting down the bowl in her hands. Yao Yao, don't be sad, it'll be fine. Maybe one day Shu will become an inheritor too, and I'll go accompany you. We'll all be Shield Bros Shield Girls, and together with Xiao Xiao, we'll be sky-class fighters. Waha, let's see who dares mess with us then. We'll sweep through the world of practitioners together, Yushu said. You'll become an inheritor too? Meng Yao, naturally, didn't believe Yushu. This thing requires luck and luck. You don't have the Dark Phoenix bloodline, how are you going to go? I can go to other sects, like ask Huabayun if they need inheritors. I'm a fire elemental, maybe they'll take me in, Yushu said. Alright, Shu, I know you're comforting me, but it's nothing. It's fine as long as you've thought it through. Meng Yao said. It'll come. I can't hide even if I want to. I'll be fine. Okay, that's good. Yushu nodded. Right, Yao Yao. Aren't you going to tell Uncle Chu? Lin Yi suddenly thought of Pengzhan. Meng Yaro was going to the Palace of Darkness. Should he inform Pengzhan? Of course I have to. I'll call Dad right now. Meng Yaro had decided to follow the Grand Elder to the Dark Palace to become an inheritor. Of course, he had to give Pengzhan a call. Lin Yi didn't have much appetite today. He looked at the people around him leaving one by one. He felt sad but smiled. Now it was Yaro Yaro, Xiao Shu and Little Ju. They were all inheritors. There was also Guanxin. However, Lin Yi really couldn't stop them. Even if Lin Yi had the power to flatten the ancient sects, it was impossible for him to do so. With the strength to kill Patriarch Xian Chen, it was impossible for Lin Yi to stop this. Because that was Boss Bai's dream. Returning the Five Elements sect to the level of the ancient times had always been Boss Bai's pursuit. Lin Yi was now a direct disciple of the Five Elements sect. Lin Yi also had to fight for the cause of the Five Elements sect. Therefore, what Lin Yi could do was to improve his strength as soon as possible. When the big plan came, he would have enough strength to protect Xiao Xiao and the others. This was what Lin Yi should do. So, this was also why Lin Yi didn't strongly oppose Meng Yaro going to the Dark Palace. Meng Yaro had already called Pengzhan. Pengzhan was having dinner with his business partners. He was surprised to receive a call this late. Yao Yao, what's up? Dad, are you busy? Can you come to the villa for a while? Meng Yaro hesitated and said firmly. Now. Yao Yao, I'm having dinner with a client. Is your business important? Can I go tomorrow? Pengzhan paused and asked. It's very important, can you reject it? Meng Yaro didn't know if the Grand Elder of the Dark Palace would come looking for her again tomorrow. Perhaps tonight would be the last night Meng Yaro would be staying in the villa. Alright, I'll go now. Pengzhan could tell that Meng Yao's tone wasn't right. He agreed immediately. After hanging up, Pengzhan apologized to the customer, but the customer wasn't displeased. He didn't dare to be displeased, either, since Pengzhan was the chairman of Donghai's merchant guild, and the hidden house Zhao had been destroyed. Donghai was now under the control of the hidden house Han, and with the support of the hidden house Han, Pengzhan's business was flourishing. If it weren't for the huge amount of money he'd be getting, Pengzhan's business would have been much bigger than it was right now. Of course, Pengzhan never regretted giving the money to Lin Yi. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was their family's savior. Without Lin Yi, the company would have long been taken over by Gubang and the others, and even Yaoiro's life would have been lost. After the dinner, Pengzhan got into Forbert's car and rushed to Lin Yi's villa. Meng Yao's mood wasn't quite right, so Pengzhan decided to call Lin Yi first, planning to ask Lin Yi what happened to Meng Yaro at the villa. Uncle Chu? Lin Yi was a little surprised when he received the call. He didn't think that Pengzhan would call him so soon after Meng Yao's call. Yi, it's me. I wanted to ask you, is Yaro Yaro in some kind of trouble? Did you ask me to come over now? Pengzhan let out a breath of relief when he saw that Lin Yi had picked up the phone. It would have been a big problem if Lin Yi hadn't picked up the phone. Now that Lin Yi was with Meng Yaro, it shouldn't be a big problem. Uncle Chu, it's a little complicated. Let's talk about it when you're here. Lin Yi couldn't explain it clearly on the phone. Oh. Pengzhan paused, not expecting Lin Yi to say something like that. He didn't press the matter further. Alright, I'll come over now. Lin Yi shrugged at Meng Yaro after hanging up. Yaro Yaro, Uncle Chu's calling. He seems worried. Yeah, Daddy's always worried about me. I wonder if he'll be able to accept it now that I'm leaving. Meng Yaro sighed worriedly. Mom left us when we were young. Now that I'm leaving, I wonder if Daddy will be lonely. Lin Yi had always been curious about where Meng Yao's mother had gone. He thought that she'd passed away, but the miss scolded him for it. Clearly, it was a misunderstanding. But even now, Lin Yi didn't know where Meng Yao's mother was. Right, Yao Yao, where did your mom go? Lin Yi asked. My mom? I don't know. Daddy didn't tell me. He only said that she went to a faraway place and won't be back for a long time. Meng Yaro shook her head, a trace of confusion flashing in her eyes. Chapter 3090. Lin Yi nodded. It seemed like the miss really didn't know anything. She wouldn't have been tricked by Pinliang otherwise. Not long after, the sound of a car could be heard outside the villa. Peng Zhan was probably here. As expected, the doorbell rang, and Lin Yi opened the door to see a sweaty Peng Zhan rushing in. Yi, Yao, what's going on? Let's talk inside. Lin Yi gestured for Peng Zhan to enter the living room. Yeah. Peng Zhan nodded and walked quickly into the living room. Yi, can you tell me now? Actually, Uncle Chu, it all started this afternoon. Meng Yaro had planned to be honest with Peng Zhan anyways, so Lin Yi didn't hide anything. He told Peng Zhan everything from the Dongfang house's Dongfang Cha kidnapping Meng Yaro and Yu Shu, to the Grand Elder and Black-Clothed Elder of the Dark Palace coming to their aid, to Lin Yi's arrival. Peng Zhan listened to Lin Yi say that Meng Yaro and Yu Shu met people from the Dark Palace in the afternoon, and even saved them. His face changed a little, but he still asked, and then? Now, this is the most important thing. Yaro is the inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline, Lin Yi said. The Grand Elder of the Dark Palace wants to take her away, bring her back to the Dark Palace to train. What? The Grand Elder wants to take Yaro to the Dark Palace? How can that be? Peng Zhan stood up, agitated, his emotions incomparable. Why does she want to take Yaro away again? Why? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Uncle Chu, don't be angry. These ancient sects don't have reason to reason with them. It was the same reason when Xiao was forced to stay in the Ice Palace. Yeah. Peng Zhan realized his mistake as well. Sighing slightly, he sat back on the sofa, but his expression was unusually ugly. The Palace of Darkness. It's the Palace of Darkness again. If our benefactor was still here, they wouldn't dare to do this. Benefactor? What do you mean? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. It's nothing. I lost my composure, Peng Zhan said, surprised. He didn't dare talk about what happened back then, not even to Meng Yaro and Forbert. But today, when he heard that the Dark Palace was going to take Meng Yaro away, he lost his composure and spoke his mind. Nothing. Daddy. Are you hiding something from us? You knew about the Dark Palace? Meng Yaro heard what Peng Zhan said as well. He immediately asked suspiciously. At this moment, Peng Zhan was struggling internally. Should he tell Meng Yaro that his wife, Yaro's mother, was in the Palace of Darkness? However, Peng Zhan made up his mind after struggling for a long time. He didn't want to hide it anymore, he wanted to tell the truth. After all, even if Meng Yaro was in the Palace of Darkness, she still needed to know about these things. So, Peng Zhan took a deep breath. Yao, since you asked, I'll tell you everything. Didn't you always ask me where your mother went, what she did? Today, I'll tell you everything. My mother. Meng Yao's breathing quickened, but then her heart skipped a beat. My mother. Could it be related to the Palace of Darkness? What? What's going on? That's right, Yao, your guess is correct. Your mother is the Palace Master of the Palace of Darkness. Peng Zhan nodded and said word by word. Ah! Meng Yaro guessed that her mother leaving back then had something to do with the Palace of Darkness, but she never would have thought that her mother was the Palace Master of the Palace of Darkness. How? How was that possible? Wasn't the Palace of Darkness Lin Yi's enemy? Why would her mother send someone to go against Lin Yi? If that was the case, could it be that the Grand Elder was sent by her mother? Meng Yaro couldn't be blamed for thinking like that after all. As far as she knew, the Palace Master was the highest authority in a sect. Wasn't that the same for the Ice Palace she knew? Bingtang was the strongest existence in the Ice Palace, and her words carried weight. Even though there were supreme elders in the Snow Valley, they still respected Xue Li's opinion. Xue Li was also involved in the management of the Snow Valley. So, Meng Yaro felt that since her mother was the Palace Master of Darkness, then all of this was planned by her mother. But did her mother not like her anymore? Why would she do something to her own daughter? At that thought, Meng Yaro felt sad. Mom doesn't want us anymore. Yao, it seems like you're thinking too much. Peng Zhan smiled bitterly, shaking his head. It's not that your mother doesn't want us anymore, but she was forced to leave. Besides, your mother may be the Palace Master of Darkness, but she doesn't have any actual power. The Grand Elder is in charge of the entire Palace of Darkness. Forced to leave. The Grand Elder is in charge. Meng Yarrow paused, thinking of something. Could it be that Mom is an inheritor too? She was taken by the Grand Elder to the Palace of Darkness? That's right. Peng Zhan nodded. It's a long story. I'll tell you all in detail. Back then, WN was the young Palace Master of Darkness Palace, but her Dark Phoenix bloodline had gone through many generations, and it wasn't very pure anymore. It was very difficult for someone with that bloodline to accept an inheritance and become an inheritor. According to the calculations of the Five Elements School, there were still at least 20 years before the Heavenly Stage Island project would start. Therefore, the Dark Palace decided to let Yi WN marry the young master of the Heavenly Elixir School, Tian Jixing, who was also the father of Tian Jixing. The Sky Elixir School had a secret art, of course, it was the Five Elements School's secret art. They could use certain methods to gather all the Dark Phoenix bloodline in WN's body into the fetus, and that way, the fetus would have the complete Dark Phoenix bloodline in the mother's womb. This way, although the Dark Phoenix bloodline in Yi Wanna's body was not pure, her child would have an extremely pure Dark Phoenix bloodline. Although it would not be as pure as the ancestors, at least in terms of receiving the inheritance, there would be no problem at all. The Palace of Darkness was the same as the Yellow Earth High Sect, having inheritors through bloodline. It wasn't like the other inheritors of the fire, water, mist, ice, or wood elements, as long as they had a pure body of the same element. Chapter 3091. Of course, pure metal and earth elements might be able to accept the inheritance, but the Dark Palace and the Yellow Soil Sect couldn't do it. These two sects could only produce a single bloodline inheritor. But, the young Yi WN didn't want to marry the young master of the Sky Elixir Sect, Tian Jixing, and so, just like in novels and TV shows, she ran away. On the way, the young Yi WN met the handsome Chu Pengzhan, and the two fell in love. They even tasted the forbidden fruit, and it was at this time that Yi WN got pregnant with Chu Mengyaro. But, the truth couldn't be contained, and the Grand Elder of the Dark Palace activated the Dark Phoenix Stone. The Yi WN in front of him had already lost her virginity, and her blood had become even more impure. Logically speaking, the Dark Phoenix Stone shouldn't be able to find her, but the Grand Elder had sacrificed his strength and gathered many masters to forcefully activate the Dark Phoenix Stone to find Yi WN and Pengzhan, who had already escaped abroad. Originally, Yi Wanna and Chu Pengzhan were certain that they would die this time, but they didn't think that they would meet a benefactor who would help them. This was an extremely powerful person, Mr. Yang. Mr. Yang used his terrifying strength to make the Grand Elder compromise, and let Yi WN and Chu Pengzhan go. He didn't even dare let out a fart, and left with his tail between his legs. He didn't forget to please Mr. Yang when he left. But, Mr. Yang suddenly disappeared, and never appeared again. The Grand Elder, because of Mr. Yang's disappearance, once again set his sights on Yi WN and forcefully brought her back to the Dark Palace, forcing her to continue trying to accept the inheritance. However, because Mr. Yang's power was too great, it left a psychological shadow in the Supreme Elder. When he took Yi Wanna away, Yi Wanna didn't even have a chance to escape. When he took Yi WN away, he didn't dare to do anything to Chu Pengzhan and Chu Mengyaro. But no matter how powerful a person was, after disappearing for more than 10 years, the shadow in the Grand Elder's heart slowly dissipated. As far as he was concerned, that person was most likely dead, and so he wanted to kill Chu Pengzhan and Chu Mengyaro again. It had been a secret Pengzhan kept to himself all these years. He didn't tell Mengyaro because the ancient sects were far away from the people of the common world. Far, far away, an existence that could only be looked up to. Even if Lin Yi was very powerful and could go against the aristocratic families and the hidden aristocratic families, he could not go against the ancient sects. It was also because Lin Yi had started stepping into the ancient sects recently, making friends with the disciples of the ancient sects, that Pengzhan decided to tell Mengyaro and Lin Yi about the past. Otherwise, Pengzhan didn't have the guts to say it before, afraid that Mengyaro or Lin Yi would do something irrational. After all, the Mr. Yang from back then had disappeared. Pengzhan's support was gone, and he was afraid as well. Ah! This meant that the Grand Elder of the Dark Palace had captured his mother. You want to catch me again? Meng Yaro couldn't help but be shocked and angry after hearing Peng Zhan's story. This Grand Elder is too evil, taking my mother away and leaving you without a wife. You don't have a wife, and I don't have a mother. What a typical bully. Why didn't Mr. Yang come back to punish her? Yeah, I didn't think that the Dark Palace would come after you. Peng Zhan smiled bitterly. If Mr. Yang was still here, she wouldn't dare take your mother away. She wouldn't even know how to get on his good side. So it looks like Mom must have failed the inheritance, and that's why she's coming after me. Meng Yaro nodded, not dumb. She understood the Dark Palace's intentions right away. That should be the case, but what I'm curious about is that there's no Dark Phoenix blood in your veins at all. There's only a very, very small part of it, almost negligible. It's not like the Elder didn't have her eyes on you back then, but she gave up after a thorough examination. How come you're here now? Peng Zhan said, a little confused. Oh, is that so? Meng Yaro was puzzled as well. If that was the case, then why would the Grand Elder come all the way here? Oh, Shield Bro, do you think Yaro Yaro's bloodline mutated after eating a Dark Phoenix? Yushu remembered an important thing. Lin Yi had once bought a black pheasant, but the man selling the pheasant insisted that it was a black phoenix. Could it be the Dark Phoenix? Me? When did I eat a Dark Phoenix? Meng Yaro blinked, but her face changed. You guys are talking about that dream? And I ate a Dark Phoenix in the real world? That should be it. Lin Yi nodded. Now that I think about it, you said that you were in a dream, but it wasn't you, but someone else. A bunch of people called you Palace Master, and they fed you a Dark Phoenix. I'm guessing that it's some sort of memory inheritance. Memory inheritance. Meng Yaro didn't understand what Lin Yi was getting at. The place where you ate the Dark Phoenix is probably very close to the Dark Knight Palace. According to my guess, the first Dark Phoenix bloodline in the Dark Knight Palace was born from eating the Dark Phoenix, and that person might be your ancestor, Yaro Yaro. Lin Yi said, we have a Dark Phoenix in our hands, and you are related to your ancestor by blood. It's probably some kind of mysterious force that made you eat that Dark Phoenix. The memory of your ancestor eating the Dark Phoenix was also passed down to your brain. Holy shit, Shield Bro, you're almost as good as Shu now, amazing, Yushu said, impressed. Then it's very possible. Meng Yaro nodded. This also explains why the Grand Elder didn't care about me back then, but came to me now. That must be it. Lin Yi nodded. And now, it means that your bloodline is the same as your ancestor's bloodline, and it's very easy for this bloodline to receive the inheritance. Then what I don't understand is, if Mom is the inheritor, why hasn't she come to see me all these years? She didn't even call me. From the Grand Elder's attitude towards me, she didn't want to fall out with me, so Mom must have some status in the Palace of Darkness. Xiao Xiao is in the Ice Palace, and she can still talk to us. Meng Yaro asked, confused. Chapter 3092. Your mother's personality is that of a meek and cowardly type. Why would she fight with the Grand Elder for anything? Naturally, she would do whatever the Grand Elder said. Back then, the Grand Supreme Elder also used my safety and yours to threaten your mother, so your mother left with the Grand Supreme Elder. But Mom can totally say that if you threaten me again, I won't go, even if you kill me. Meng Yao's personality was completely different from Yi Weiner's. The miss wasn't that easy to bully. If your mom was like you, then even if you don't see her, you'd call her often. Peng Zhan smiled bitterly. Right, Mom's in the Palace of Darkness right now. She must have failed the inheritance. That's why the Grand Elder came to find me. Since Mom's in the Palace of Darkness, then I can ask her to come back and stay with Dad, and I'll go to the Palace of Darkness. That way Dad won't be lonely. Meng Yaro didn't care if her mother was an elder or not, or if the Grand Elder still wanted her to stay in the Palace of Darkness. Since she thought of this, then she would do it. In fact, the Grand Elder didn't use Meng Yao's mother as a threat because she didn't want to let Weiner leave. Weiner was a sky-class early phase, after all, and to the weaker Palace of Darkness, it would be a great help. Although Weiner had gotten into a fight with him for wanting to kill Peng Zhan and Meng Yaro, as long as Meng Yaro wasn't dead and went to the Palace of Darkness, Lin Yi believed that Weiner would be more than happy to continue working for the Palace of Darkness. As for Lin Yi, The Grand Elder didn't dare kill him. She realized that Meng Yao's personality was completely different from Weina's. If she didn't like it, she'd threaten her and not go to the Palace of Darkness. This made the Grand Elder very helpless. Plus, the Grand Elder valued Meng Yao far more than Yi Wn. Whether or not Wn could accept the inheritance was completely based on luck, but Meng Yao's Dark Phoenix bloodline was so pure that it made people speechless. As long as Meng Yao went to the Palace of Darkness, she'd be able to accept the inheritance without a doubt. So the Grand Elder thought it through. In order to make Meng Yao happy, she'd go back to the Palace of Darkness and let Meng Yao be the Vice Palace Master. Of course. If Meng Yao really could accept the inheritance, then she'd even become the Grand Elder. The Great Elder was such a person. For the sake of the sect, he would do anything. He no longer had any face. As for Elder Li, he'd give him some power as well, as long as Meng Yao was happy to accept the inheritance. He'd be fine with anything, even handing over all of Elder Black's power. But the prerequisite was that Meng Yao had to accept the inheritance willingly. Peng Zhan was a little excited after hearing Meng Yao's words. Could Yi Wan come back? All these years, Peng Zhan had been hoping that Yi Wn would return to his side one day. Even in his dreams. And so, at this moment, Peng Zhan couldn't suppress his emotions anymore. He stood up from the sofa. Yao. Your mom can come back. Yes. I think the Grand Elder will agree if I use this as a threat. Meng Yao wasn't too sure herself. Meng Yao wasn't sure, but at least it could be used as a threat. Whether or not the Grand Elder would let her go depended on her mood and attitude. But, Yao, you're sacrificing yourself in exchange for your mother's return. I'd rather you didn't go. Peng Zhan calmed down after the excitement. He knew that this was an exchange for Meng Yao's inheritance. Even if Mom doesn't come back, I'd still go. Meng Yao smiled. Dad, since I'm leaving, why don't I fight for more benefits? If the Grand Elder heard this, she'd probably spit out blood. She tried so hard not to mention Yi Wan because she was afraid that Meng Yao would want to switch people. Yi Wan was a sky-class early phase, a part of the Palace of Darkness power. She'd just leave like that. Uncle Chu, Yao's right. Even if Aunt Yi doesn't come back, Yao has to go. So instead of that, why not ask for more benefits? Lin Yi nodded. All right, if that's the case, then Daddy thanks you. Peng Zhan was a little emotional. Yao, I didn't think that in the end, you'd be the one to leave, and your mom's back. When can we really reunite as a family? That'll depend on Shield Bro. When Shield Bro becomes a sky-class late-phase peak, he'll sweep through the entire ancient world. Then, we'll be the #1 house in the world. Yushu said, at that time, the Grand Elder will probably come to lick Shield Bro's shoes. Shu, that's not what you're saying. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. Don't say things like that. If the Grand Elder hears it, she'll want to kill Lin Yi again. Oh, Shu knows. Isn't it just talking about it at home? Yushu nodded casually. Shu, no one will care about you after I'm gone. You have to listen to Lin Yi, understand? Don't always cause trouble for Lin Yi. Meng Yao glanced at Shu. Although she was talking to her, there was a strong sense of reluctance in her eyes. After all, she and Shu had lived together for so many years, and now they were going to be separated. Ian, don't worry, Yao sis. I'm a good girl. Yushu nodded solemnly, putting away the joking expression on her face. Meng Yao, however, couldn't help but smile at the last part. Looking at Meng Yao, Lin Yi's heart was filled with sadness. Originally, Lin Yi thought that the Miss and Shu would be the ones who would be with him forever. Even when he knew that Shu would be leaving, Lin Yi still felt that the Miss wouldn't be able to leave no matter what. He would live with her forever. Although they didn't hint or promise anything to each other, both of them knew that although they were friends, most of the time, their relationship had already exceeded that of ordinary friends. What did this mean? Every time Lin Yi came back from a trip, the Miss would be like a wife waiting for her husband to come back. Her greeting and gaze were calm, but it had become a habit. Did he like the Miss? He should like her. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't be living with her all the time. Chapter 3093. It was just that Lin Yi didn't realize it himself. But did the Miss like him? Lin Yi wasn't sure. Sometimes he was sure, but other times he wasn't sure. It was a very strange feeling, but since the mist didn't say it, Linyi wouldn't break this warm relationship between them. Perhaps one day in the future, the two would break through friendship and become lovers, but they wouldn't be too surprised because they already had this feeling between them. It was just that now wasn't the time. Linyi, on the other hand, enjoyed the warmth and habit of being with the miss. There wasn't the passion of love, just the simple care and concern for each other, but the appearance of the Grand Elder of the Dark Palace broke the peace between Linyi and the miss. The miss would leave, and the dream would wake up. "It's late, Dad, you should go back. We should rest as well. Perhaps the Grand Elder will come tomorrow morning. The black-clothed elder beside her knows this place," Meng Yaro said to Peng Zhan. Peng Zhan had spent quite a bit of time talking about the past, and it was already night time. "Okay, Yaro Yaro, I'll be going then. I won't be participating in tomorrow's matter." "Yi, please." Peng Zhan knew that it wasn't a good time for him to show his face tomorrow. He was afraid that the Grand Elder would be embarrassed if he saw him. After all, Mr. Yang used to support him. "Don't worry, Uncle Chu. I'll help Yaro Yaro and make Aunt Yi come back." Linyi nodded. Peng Zhan didn't say anything else. He stood up and left the villa with Forbert. They got in the car and disappeared into the night. In the villa, Meng Yaro stood up and yawned. "All right, Shu, come sleep with me upstairs. It's not like I won't come back if I leave." "Oh, okay." Yushu followed Meng Yaro upstairs obediently. She knew that this might be the last day she'd be sleeping with Meng Yaro. Linyi sighed, although he also wanted to follow. He still said, "Little Han, you also go rest, I will also sleep." "Okay." Shahan didn't expect something like this to happen in Linyi's house. She nodded and went upstairs. After returning to his room, Linyi sat cross-legged on his bed and began cultivating the third stage of the art of dragon mastery. Linyi knew that only by working harder could he make his voice heard in the ancient realm. Otherwise, Xiao Xiao and Yaro Yaro would be manipulated by others, even Xiao Shu and Little Ju in the future. Although Linyi's relationship with Blazing Mountain and Yellow Earth High faction was not bad, but if they wanted to do something, Linyi couldn't stop them. However, if he was strong enough, he could protect them. Upstairs, Meng Yaro and Yushu's room. Although the lights had been turned off, neither of the sisters was asleep. "Shu, are you asleep?" Meng Yaro asked. "No, Yaro Yaro sis, what about you?" Yushu asked. "Of course not. How else would I be talking to you?" Meng Yaro didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Oh, Yaro Yaro sis, you are leaving tomorrow, I can't sleep," Yushu said. "Yeah, me too," Meng Yaro smiled, but her smile was a little sad. "Then let's talk." "Okay." Yushu nodded. "It's so miraculous, I didn't think that I'd be an inheritor." Meng Yaro sighed. "I never would have thought of this before. It seems like our lives have changed a lot ever since Linyi came to the villa." "Yeah, then Yaro Yaro sis, do you regret it?" Yushu asked. "Regret? Of course not, it's good this way, it's much more interesting than before. Besides, if it wasn't for Linyi, we would have been dead already. One Jiao Chibing is enough to kill us," Meng Yaro said. "I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about, do you regret it? You didn't get to enjoy the moonlight first." Yushu asked. "Enjoy the moonlight first?" Meng Yaro paused, then blushed. Luckily, it was dark, so Yushu couldn't see it. "Don't talk nonsense, Linyi and I are pure friends." "Oh." "I didn't say that, Yaro Yaro sis, your thoughts are not pure," thinking of Shield Bro all of a sudden. "It seems like there's something wrong." Yushu giggled. "Then what did you say?" Meng Yaro hemphed and asked. "I said that Yaro Yaro sis didn't push Shield Bro down. Do you regret it?" Yushu said. "What's the difference?" Meng Yaro raged. "Are you trying to trick me? See if I don't tear your mouth apart." However, although Meng Yaro said that, she didn't really tear Shu's mouth apart, because she didn't want to play with Yushu anymore. She was leaving tomorrow, and she didn't have the mood. "Hehe, actually, Yaro Yaro sis is at the same level as Shield Bro's other wives now. They are all vice palace masters, elders, and inheritors. Yaro Yaro sis is also one. Yaro Yaro sis will be very powerful in the future," Yushu said, Now we're just waiting for Shu to work hard and become an inheritor, then we can work together again. Haha, okay, work hard then. Meng Yaro thought that Yu Shu was joking, so she smiled. Let's reminisce about this year. Okay. Yu Shu said, it was March 12th this year, right? Shield Bro moved into the villa for the first time. We still hated Shield Bro then. Yeah, it was March 12th, but I met the robbers on March 13th, and it was also then that I started to think that Lin Yi wasn't a bad person, at least he stood up for me. Meng Yaro nodded. Meng Yaro and Yu Shu were reminiscing about the events of the past year, and before they knew it, the sun had already risen. Today was destined to be a sleepless night, and many people had insomnia. Other than Meng Yaro and Yu Shu, Peng Zhan also had insomnia, and the Grand Elder and Elder Black-Clothed of the Palace of Darkness also had insomnia. The two of them were discussing how to convince Meng Yaro, but after a whole night, they still couldn't come up with any results. After all, the Grand Elder really didn't know how to persuade others, and she thought that Meng Yaro would happily go back with her, but this situation caught her off guard. Chapter 3094. However, she was rejected by the Great Elder. After all, Yi Wana was an expert. She would be heartbroken if she was replaced. In addition, Dongfang Buruo was also suffering from insomnia. Previously, Dongfang Cha had helped him find a female student. He had called to say that he had found one, but she never came back. When Dongfang Buruo called again, Dongfang Cha's phone was turned off. Dongfang Buruo didn't think much of it before. However, Dongfang Cha still did not appear in the middle of the night. Dongfang Buruo called again, but her phone was still turned off. He became anxious and quickly called his father, Dongfang Jinxing. Buruo? It's so late. What's the matter? Dongfang Jinxing practiced at night. As the head of the Dongfang family, he had to deal with a lot of things during the day. He could only practice at night, which was why he was slower than Dongfang Yinxing. Dad, Dongfang Cha disappeared. Dongfang Buruo said anxiously. Dongfang Cha? Disappeared? What do you mean? Dongfang Jinxing didn't understand what Dongfang Buruo meant. Wasn't he with you? Why did he disappear? He went out and never came back. Dongfang Buruo hesitated. He didn't know that his father, Dongfang Jinxing, already knew that he had sent Dongfang Cha to find beautiful women for him, so he stuttered and didn't dare to tell the truth. He found you a female student, right? Dongfang Jinxing said directly. He didn't come back after he went out. Ah, Dad, you know. Dongfang Buruo was shocked. Could it be that his father stopped Dongfang Cha from coming back? That couldn't be right. From his father's tone, he didn't know that Dongfang Cha didn't come back, so he quickly said, yes, he called me earlier and said that he found two of the best. He came back immediately, but there was no news after that. He told me about this before, I know, but he had already found two female students, and when he was about to come back, he disappeared. Dongfang Jinxing was shocked, but he was a little confused. What could happen to Dongfang Cha in the secular world? Yes. His phone was turned off, and there's no news at all. Dongfang Buruo said. Okay, I got it. Don't sleep. I'll investigate and contact you immediately. Although Dongfang Jinxing felt that Dongfang Cha should be fine, he still stood up and decided to check the surveillance footage from Dongfang Cha's car. When Dongfang Jinxing heard Dongfang Buruo's words, he immediately ended his cultivation. After a simple tidying up, he quickly walked towards the surveillance room of the Dongfang family. The Dongfang family was a relatively modern family. At the very least, they had things that people nowadays could use. They all knew how to use it and were even more advanced. Moreover, the way they dressed was exactly the same as that of modern people. Dongfang Jinxing quickly walked into the control room, and the disciple in charge of guarding the control room hurriedly greeted him, young patriarch. Why are you here? Okay, can you show me the video of Dongfang Cha after she went to East Ocean City? Dongfang Jinxing said to the disciple. Without the authorization of Dongfang Jinxing or Dongfang Badao, even the disciples who guard the monitoring room can't access the monitoring at will. Alright, young master, please authorize your fingerprint. After the disciple pulled up the monitoring footage, he couldn't play it. He needed Dongfang Jinxing or Dongfang Badao's fingerprint authorization. Dongfang Jinxing nodded, then reached out and swiped on the fingerprint device. With a beep sound, the fingerprint verification was successful, and the computer began to play Dongfang Cha's every move. Before, it was the scene of Dongfang Cha and Dongfang Buruo just arriving in East Ocean City. Then, it was the scene of Dongfang Cha driving to the East Ocean Industry University. Then, Dongfang Cha waited for a while downstairs. Dongfang Jinxing fast-forwarded all of this until Dongfang Cha knocked out the two girls. Here comes the main point. It's Elder Dark Knight of the Dark Palace. Dongfang Jinxing saw the person on the screen and was shocked. The Grand Elder of the Dark Palace was respectfully called Elder Dark Knight. It didn't mean that she had this name, but that every generation of Grand Elder would have this name. However, this wasn't all that surprising. What happened next made Dongfang Jinxing's face turn extremely ugly. Elder Dark Knight had actually killed Dongfang Cha. After that, the image was cut off. It seemed like Elder Dark Knight had gotten someone to find the surveillance camera and destroy it. Dark Palace, you and I have no grievances. How dare you kill the elder of my Dongfang family? Do you think the elder of our Dongfang family is easy to bully? Because from the screen, Dongfang Jinxing didn't know that Meng Yaro was the inheritor of the Dark Palace. In Dongfang Jinxing's eyes, they were just two beautiful little girls. Wasn't Elder Dark Knight a busybody? We caught our people, what does it have to do with you? Do you think you're a hero who will help others when you see injustice? Dongfang Jinxing was very angry. This was the third person of his family to die in a row. Before it was Dongfang Buruo, then Dongfang Jian, and finally Dongfang Cha. These were all first-class masters, and they all died like this. No matter how powerful the Dongfang family was, it was enough to lose 3 heaven-class masters in a row. Dongfang Jinxing didn't dare to make a decision. He copied the video into his phone and then quickly walked to the place where Dongfang Badao practiced. Who? As soon as Dongfang Jinxing walked to the door of Dongfang Badao's room, he heard Dongfang Inxing's question inside. After all, who in the Dongfang family would come here in the middle of the night? So his tone was a little bad. Come in, it's Jinxing. Dongfang Badao spoke at this time. He was stronger than Dongfang Inxing, so he heard the footsteps from Dongfang Jinxing. Yes, father. Dongfang Jinxing pushed the door and walked into the room, then hurriedly said, Dad, second brother, something big happened, Dongfang Cha, also dead. What? Dongfang Badao suddenly stood up, and his eyes were full of incredible look. Jinxing, what did you say? Dongfang Cha also died? How did she die? Was she killed when she went to investigate the cause of Dongfang Jian's death? Chapter 3095. Dark Knight Palace. Elder Anya. Fuck her. What does it have to do with her that Buo is looking for a woman? Is she in menopause? Dongfang Inxing was furious after hearing it. This was also a spoiled Dongfang Buo. Dongfang Inxing had no children and regarded Dongfang Buo and Dongfang Buo as his own. It could be said that in the family, Dongfang Badao was the first to spoil them, Dongfang Inxing was the second, and Dongfang Jinxing was the third. However, Dongfang Jinxing sometimes did not dare to discipline Dongfang Buo and Dongfang Buo too much. So, Dongfang Buo went out to show off and was beaten to death, Dongfang Buo went out to look for a woman, and the elder Dongfang Cha was beaten to death. Because of what? Dongfang Badao frowned. Jinxing, are you telling the truth? You didn't hide anything? Dad, these are all our people, I have nothing to hide. Dongfang Jinxing smiled bitterly and said, I have a video of what happened at that time, have a look. Dongfang Badao nodded. Although he was shocked, it was difficult to understand why the Supreme Elder of the Dark Knight Palace would attack Dongfang Cha. There was no reason at all. However, after watching the video, Dongfang Badao was also inexplicable. How did Dongfang Cha die? It seemed that Elder Anya was standing up for the two girls who were caught. But who were the two girls? Dongfang Badao did not think that the disciples of the ancient level would go to school in the secular world. There were in the hidden level, but it was basically impossible in the ancient level, so Dongfang Badao ruled out the possibility that the two girls were disciples of the Dark Knight Palace. But if they were not disciples, were they relatives of Elder Anya? Tomorrow, issue a letter of challenge. We, the Dongfang family, declare war on the Dark Knight Palace. The reason is Dongfang Cha. Dongfang Badao said coldly, we dare not find trouble with the Everyday and Tomorrow sect for the time being, but the Dark Knight Palace, During this time, the Dongfang family members died one after another, which made Dongfang Badao unable to bear it. This time, he wanted to vent the anger in his heart on the Dark Knight Palace. Dongfang Buwo died, but he did not dare to take revenge. Dongfang Jian died, but he did not know how he died. Only the death of Dongfang Cha, the Dongfang family dared to take action. Yes, father. Then tomorrow morning, what reason should I use to challenge the Palace of Darkness? Dongfang Jinxing asked. Let's just tell the truth. We can't hide this. If the truth is different from what we say and the Palace of Darkness spreads it, it won't be good for us. We have to tell the truth. Dongfang Badao pondered for a moment and said, it's just capturing 2 female students in the secular world. It's not a big deal. No one can say anything wrong about our Dongfang family. All right, I understand. Dongfang Jinxing nodded. Indeed, although this matter sounded a bit absurd, which ancient sect didn't have a bit of filth? Dongfang Jinxing knew that there were also ancient sects that supported the merchants of the secular world to smuggle and rob. Many people were well aware of this, so it was really not a big deal to bully people. This night, Dongfang Jinxing didn't sleep. He had been thinking about how to deal with the Palace of Darkness. After all, he would declare war on the Palace of Darkness tomorrow morning. He must have the first step of the plan. Otherwise, he would be laughed at by others. The next day, when the sky was just getting bright, Dongfang Jinxing sent a fax letter to all the ancient sects. This was a letter to declare war on the Palace of Darkness. Because the Dongfang family was a modern family, they used fax instead of pigeons or letters. In fact, other ancient sects also had fax, but these ancient sects were not used to using it. Dongfang Jinxing's declaration of war shocked many of the ancient sects. For so many years, there hadn't been a battle between the ancient sects. But now, it actually happened, and it was the powerful Dongfang family against the weak Dark Palace. Of course, after reading the contents of the letter, everyone didn't think that the Dongfang family was bullying the Palace of Darkness. After all, the people of the Dongfang family said very clearly that it was the Grand Elder of the Palace of Darkness who first killed Elder Dongfang Cha of the Dongfang family. The cause was just that Dongfang Cha had captured 2 female students. This caused the ancient sects to immediately lean towards the Dongfang family's side. Which ancient sect didn't have a bit of filth? In everyone's eyes, what the Dongfang clan had done was really nothing. This supreme elder was simply meddling in other people's business. He deserved to be challenged by others. Didn't you, Elder Dark Knight, enter the mundane world to find an inheritor? Why didn't you find the inheritor, so you went to meddle in other people's business? Are you so bored that your balls hurt? Of course, she didn't have balls. Otherwise, if anyone did something bad